This is the story of Sukaru Sumeragi, a high school senior whose only passion was cooking. Although his classmates praised his food, he remained lonely and found solace only in friends on the internet. But one day, the most popular girl in school, Ikenos, noticed his talent. She confessed that she was too clumsy to help, but was happy just to watch him work. Look, as soon as the teacher left the room, Tsukuru felt a sudden cold premonition. In an instant, the world shattered into chaos and blinding light. The entire school building was engulfed by some unknown phenomenon. Tsukuru and his classmates suddenly found themselves in a huge stone hall. He could only guess whether this was the legendary summoning to another world. Before they could understand what had happened, soldiers in armor surrounded them. From a high balcony, nobles and kings looked at them as if they were cattle. A man stepped forward, his voice echoing through the hall. "You are heroes summoned to this world by our ritual." Panic spread around when the knight explained that now their status would be checked. Their mission was to fight demon kings, but who and where to go was decided at an auction between kingdoms with very high stakes. One by one, the students stepped forward to touch the strange status plaque. Ikenos was the first to reveal her position, Holy Maiden, rank S, and the stakes instantly jumped to tens of millions. And then it was Tsukuru Sumeraga's turn. He was to be evaluated. The great hall fell into a deafening silence when his status appeared before everyone. Position Cook, rank G. The enraged ones burst out with contempt. "Good for nothing, hurry, go to the next," they shouted. The aristocrat angrily protested that such a worthless hero was called when the world was in danger. Tsukuru froze in place, not understanding what he could have done to deserve this humiliation. The old man told him that he would not be sent back, handed over a pitiful sword and a few coins for consolation, and then led him to the gates. He said directly and sharply that none of the kingdoms wanted to accept a cook. Every nose stretched toward him, but the guards held her back. Tsukuru forcibly brought out a smile and promised that they would meet again someday. She tearfully begged him to promise that they would definitely see each other again. "All right," he said, turned his back and walked towards the ominous portal. "See you then." But as soon as he stepped through the gate, a hand suddenly and forcefully pushed him from behind. He saw the old man's face twist into a mocking smile, and at that moment he realized he had been betrayed. Tsukuru was thrown not into the city, but right into the very heart of the dark and threatening forest. He got up and his shock turned into pure rage. He was deceived and left in the treacherous bullet forest. That old bastard, he thought, when a status plate appeared before him and confirmed his pathetic first-level job. His skills were useless in battle, and his stats were terribly low. But survival was above all. He used the skill of detailed inspection and desperately searched for anything edible. He managed to find some berries and mushrooms, and using his unique ability, preserved them. Just as a ray of hope appeared, a giant rat ambushed him. Fear paralyzed him. They knew he couldn't fight and left him here to die. His fear turned into a burning desire for revenge. He vowed to survive in this forest and make them all pay. But suddenly, a new shadow fell upon him. This was not just a beast. A huge saber-toothed beast stubbornly stared at him, its claws like sharpened daggers. Tsukuru only managed to scream as the predator lunged. The sword vanished, and the only weapon he had left were the mushrooms in his inventory. The beast swatted him away like an insect, and he crashed to the ground. Life was slowly fading, and he asked himself, is this really the end? But the thought of revenge, of the justice he had to establish, did not let him give up. In a last desperate surge, he unleashed his only attacking skill, Ignite. He screamed, pouring every last drop of his will into the attack. The creature was suddenly engulfed by magical flames, and it howled in pain. It wildly thrashed, trying to crush it to stop the burning. Pressed under the monster, Tsukuru desperately used the only other skill that came to his mind, Dismantle. In a flash of dark energy, the monster instantly turned into a pile of bones and materials. A single message appeared in his field of vision: "You have leveled up." One after another, and another, and another until notifications flooded his senses. He didn't just level up by one in an instant, his level jumped by dozens. Covered in blood, he looked at the impossible result. The pain from the wounds was unbearable. He collapsed. He was alive but barely holding on. Falling into unconsciousness, he still managed to recall the newly acquired skill, Water Pistol. A small ball of pure water suddenly appeared, dripped right into his mouth, and saved him from dehydration. One more skill worked, Healing Food. From the remains of the monster appeared a steak that promised to heal his wounds. Having no other choice, he began devouring the magical meat. He ate greedily, fighting to survive. An incredible power burst through his battered body. His severe wounds began to close and disappear. In a matter of moments, he was completely healed. He looked at his hands, at his body, not believing his eyes. He had truly recovered. Now, having received a new chance at life, He gazed into the dark forest, his determination hardened. He looked once again at his status. His name was Sukaru Sumeragi, and he was no longer a first-level cook now. He was level 123 and had a bunch of new powerful skills. The bony creature released its prey, mistaking the human for a monster. The main character knew that against a level 200 Sword Reaper, he had no chance. He had to become stronger. Before he could rush again in search of revenge, he first needed to eat. When he finished eating, he suddenly noticed a strange new effect approaching him. Suddenly it dawned on him. By devouring different parts of the monster, he gained different abilities. The more powerful the creature he devoured, the greater strength he received. Having gained new knowledge, he rushed to hunt, deciding to become strong enough to destroy his enemies. But when he was preparing food, suddenly a pack of wolves attacked him. He unleashed an avalanche of water, knowing it was useless against their numbers. Suddenly, a much greater threat burst from the shadows. A huge hell bear appeared before him. The level 210 monster stared at him with pure malice. The creature let out a deafening howl. The protagonist jumped back just at the moment when its massive jaws snapped shut with a crack. The beast's attack was of such uncontrollable force that it threw him backward. He flashed forward in response, trying to immobilize it with the shadow-binding magic of the trees. The magic proved useless. It instantly cracked under the colossal strength of the bear. A huge rag cut through the air. The beast's teeth latched on and deeply sank into his shoulder. He gritted his teeth from the burning pain as the creature effortlessly lifted him. The bear's claws pierced his torso and pinned him like an insect. Rage overwhelmed his mind, and a burning desire for revenge consumed him. The monster loomed over him, but he refused to let his story end here. He decided to resort to his last hope, a desperate final move. He unleashed his most powerful force, and darkness engulfed the entire world. When he woke up, he realized he had absorbed the power of that creature. He methodically extracted resources from the bear, gaining new skills and strength from its remains. His journey continued, and soon he found himself face to face with another deadly predator. Again, he was cornered and doubted his fate as a close combat fighter. But he suddenly understood one important thing. From the hellish bear, he acquired dark magic, and it was the perfect tool for his revenge. His celebration was suddenly interrupted by a strange system message. He received the title Pervert. The description in the title mocked him because he was without clothes. He looked down and his face froze in disbelief. This absurd title now stuck to his reputation forever. 30 days passed in the merciless forest, and he wondered if he had truly become stronger. The solitude of the wild wilderness began to weigh on him like a heavy stone. He was completely alone. He could only dream of finding an ally in this desolate land. Suddenly, his senses sharpened. He recognized a familiar, terrible presence he had already encountered. The Reaper tried to teleport, but he caught him with shadow chains. The main hero taunted the creature, trapping it in a cage made of magical wood. The god, using revelation of existence, tracked the Reaper, who teleported behind him to launch a surprise attack. He activated the ignition spell, a continuous flame that could have been a problem if the enemy kept running. The explosion threw the Reaper into the air. But the creature was ruthless. It teleported behind him again to deliver the final blow. At the last possible second, he activated disassembly. The Reaper's robes crumbled and transformed into a powerful new cloak for the hero. The hermit's cloak granted invisibility and protection from all magic, another victory in the pocket. And then suddenly, a blinding force struck him and knocked him down. He froze in shock, watching as the attack pierced his new magical defenses. The blast wave threw him backward. The skeletal warrior took off his cloak, stood before him, and asked only one question. "Are you a warrior?" The main character reviews his long list of skills, evidence of his rapid growth. He bites off a piece of raw metal ore. Using his ability to create, he finished forging a powerful new sword and stunned his companion. Suddenly, the Blackastar blade spoke directly in his head. It challenges him. "Prove that you are a true warrior, and I will give you my power." Suddenly, the living weapon asks a strange question. "Do you believe in God?" The main character brushed off the idea, explaining that in just a month his faith was completely destroyed. He was summoned to this world without any choice, and in return he received only contempt and rejection. He recalls endless hungry nights and the constant struggle for survival against deadly beasts. He demands to know why some god allowed people to suffer such a cruel fate. This god, who sees everything, still ignores the arrogance of his servants and the decline of humanity. Burning rage fuels him. He declares that he will smash the face of that god. The group has gathered, finally ready to learn the truth. The skeletal familiar embraces his master. The duty is done. The undead knight reports on findings from the great wolf forest. He conducted reconnaissance there by order of his lord. The hero asks in shock if these crazy monsters are the familiar's doing, but he immediately denies it. The familiar says he came across traces of exiled monsters and felt a faint but clear aura of a demon. The elven queen confirmed, some demons can subjugate monsters, so now they cannot be considered enemies. To apologize for the caused commotion, she offers them shelter in a hidden elven village. When they arrived, the elves joyfully welcomed their queen Antier at home. Antier orders her subjects, prepare rooms and food for the guests. She gently soothes the little beast people, whispering to them a promise of a calm and safe night's sleep. The group is led through the settlement, a place that coldly and steadfastly maintains neutrality towards the outside world. Antier explains that the elves prefer peace, but have sworn to act if demons intervene. The hero felt the full seriousness of the situation. The demonic threat will force both humans and beast people tribes to act. Antier, looking serious, warns him, do not underestimate this danger, it is much more complex than a single lone demon. Then she begins to tell an ancient story, a tale that reaches back millennia. It was a great war against giants and demons, in which 4 tribes united, and as a result, they lost an entire continent. Even in this peaceful era, the tribes of the Quadruple Alliance secretly increased their military power. She says that the human tribe has behaved suspiciously over the last century, and this could become the spark for another continental war. If this demon is the first sign of a new attack, Antier decisively says, we will not allow history to repeat itself. She insists, the Alliance of 4 must unite again to repel the looming threat. But the main hero sits apart from the group, as if the terrible news has not touched him. Although Antier fervently begged for an alliance, deep down he honestly admitted to himself, her cause was completely indifferent to him. Kanan approaches and sees him by the water. She asks if he will agree to cooperate with the elves, and he sharply refuses. She correctly guesses he is not from this world. Kanan recalled rumors about summoned heroes, and about one who has rejected a hero with his very name. He confirms her suspicions and admits he was never considered one of them. Simply because he was a cook and did not know how to fight, they threw him into the great wolf forest. He tells about the hell he had to go through, and how he survived only for revenge against those who betrayed him, not to save the world. Kanan argues passionately, reminding him that it was he who saved her and countless others in the city of Algria. She takes his hand and says that for her and those he saved, he is a true hero. Tears filled her eyes. She swears that she will also never forgive those who wronged him. Sanya and others appear having overheard the entire conversation. They support her opinion. The main hero froze suddenly, realizing that his entire company was eavesdropping. Hannah teases him, saying, what a favorite you are, and asks to join his journey. Even the Queen of the Elves offers her services, saying that her knowledge is invaluable for his cause. All the girls crowd around him, and Kanan reacts embarrassedly to this chaos. And Antier remains alone, deeply immersed in thoughts about the nature of the hero's challenge. She questions the true purpose of this challenge, why it exists if there is no immediate threat that would justify such a radical step. Suddenly, the earth itself began to tremble and crack. From beneath the ground rises a colossal stone figure, its gigantic size making the forest tiny. The group finds themselves in a quiet elven grove, surrounded by crystal-clear waters. While the main hero and his squad were finally relaxing, the elf announced that their food was ready. His beast-like companion is delighted. She can't wait to taste the dish prepared by the elves. To their surprise, the elves serve the main course, a huge roasted insect, caught especially for them. The main hero and the party center froze in stunned silence. They were completely horrified by this dish. Nearby, an elf gently nudges her immortal Lady Antier. Eat something before you go watch the humans. Antier whispers to her sword that she will return in a century for her. This is a short time, but for a human, it is eternity. The team whispers among themselves, everyone agrees. No one can bear the thought of eating insects. The elves eagerly encouraged them to eat, and one cheerfully admitted that she often ate them when she got lost in the forest. The main hero looks grim and resigned. He sees no way out of this situation. He quickly steps inside, sincerely thanks the elves for their hospitality, and offers to prepare food for everyone as a sign of gratitude. The elves froze in shock and could not understand how he was even going to cut that creature. Its shell was too tough, and ordinary humans could not overcome it. Deciding to put on a show, he draws his blade to demonstrate his skill. He effortlessly slices through the supposedly iron shell, and the elves froze, stunned by such strength. But with masterful precision, he prepares the banquet. He serves a perfectly cooked dish. His culinary talent transforms this ugly creature into a true masterpiece. His companions are delighted, exclaiming that the food is simply incredibly tasty. But the main character does not hold back his reproaches to himself. The elves overcooked the meat. The meal ended, and the comrades, with curiosity in their eyes, asked what he would do next now that his training was over. He admits that his goal is to raid the crude empire in the south, but he is warned. The path is blocked. His companions look worried and even doubt. Does he even know the geography of this world? One of them throws out that when he first broke out of the forest, he went completely the wrong way. Calling him hopeless, the elf leader hands him a map of the entire continent. However, she passionately explains the plan of the continent. The elves settled in one part, the humans in another, and in the very heart lies the central territory of the dwarf beast Fokin. She shows where they are now in the Great Wolf Forest and points to the distant raid crude empire. They advise taking the most reliable route through two neighboring kingdoms, one of which the hero recognizes. It is where a Chino's was sold. Conan assures that the path is safe. She has already traveled it before without any problems. It is decided we will go the proposed way. Suddenly, their plans are interrupted by an elf who runs inside with an urgent warning. They look up and see a huge object in the sky, like a falling meteorite rushing straight at them. The whole village runs out into the street to look at this terrible spectacle. One of his companions steps forward and decisively says she will intercept it with her magic. The elf leader extends a helping hand and suggests combining their fire and wind spells, the strike will be as powerful as possible. They direct a swirling vortex of destructive energy straight at the descending threat. A powerful joint spell rises into the sky to meet the object head-on. Their magic touches that colossal mass, but to their horror, the attack does not even slow it down. The object easily breaks through their spell. It crashes into the nearby forest with destructive force, and it turns out it is a whole mountain. His people sighed with relief. The village survived the direct hit. However, the leader of the elves became enraged and swears to take revenge on everyone who dared to damage her sacred forest. When the dust settles, a towering figure slowly emerges from the crater. Before them stands an ancient giant named Crafton, his appearance like a declaration of war. A boundary is drawn in the sand. The defenders swear to protect the forest at any cost. Their enemy turned out to be a ship on the ancient giant. The colossal warrior laughs, mocking the tiny stature of Antier. The main hero carefully examines the opponent, a high-class destruction specialist, but instantly dismisses him as a coward who previously begged for help. Crafton throws accusations in the hero's face that he organized the recent monster raid and now demands to know his ultimate goal. Antier fiercely asks why he appeared, but the giant simply says he came to check on her after her presence disappeared. He smiled slyly, unmistakably realizing that she had lost her second life. Crafton Lunge moves forward and decisively declares that this will be their last meeting. But in a lightning-fast move, the protagonist flips in the air and intercepts the attack. His blade sinks deep into the giant's hand. The first blood is spilled. Stunned by the sudden attack, Crafton demands to know who attacked him. The hero calmly says that he was the one who took Antier's second life and offers to deal with the giant himself. He roars with rage, shouting about his boundless hatred for the mighty tyrants who trample the weak. Craft is confused. He does not understand why he is protecting the very person he just defeated. The hero sneers at the fact that the giant cannot comprehend his power and throws, "Are you just afraid?" He issues one last bold ultimatum. Apologize for destroying the forest and he will be spared. The giant laughed contemptuously and swung his gigantic weapon, but the hero easily dodged. The spectators realized that this was his plan from the very beginning, to separate the Titan from the others. While evacuating the civilians, they can only pray for his safety. Crafton could no longer tolerate those evasions, and sharply demanded that he stop dodging and finally fight. The hero mocks the giant's stupidity and prepares his blade for a real fight. The sword slides over the giant's tough skin, and Crafton brushes it off for him. It's just an itch. He proudly boasts that the human blade is an empty threat to him, and that the first strike hit only because he was caught off guard. Irritated by the opponent's agility, the giant shatters the ground where he just stood. He roars that such agile moves are useless against his irresistible strength. Another devastating blow completely misses. Suddenly, the hero appears again behind the enemy and warns him, "Prepare yourself." Excited by the challenge, the giant roars in anticipation of a direct clash. The hero performs and releases a destructive technique, a powerful hellish slash. The attack explodes with a dazzling flash of destructive energy. The shockwave pushes the spectators back. They are stunned by the sheer power of the strike. They stand, unable to believe their eyes, trying to comprehend the disaster unfolding before them. From the smoke emerges Crafton, laughing and greeting the boy. "You are the first to survive the attack." His figure changes. He reveals his true essence. He is the founder of the giant tribe and authoritatively demands to name his opponent. The hero introduced himself, Tsukuru Sumyaragi, a human. Crafton wonders if humanity has not spawned another ancient specimen. So Kuru denies this, insisting that he is just an ordinary person. The giant sees through the lie, but says it does not matter because Tsukuru made him serious. He throws a blow with dazzling speed. The pressure waves strike hits first even before the fist itself, and knocks Tsukuru off balance. He was thrown to the ground. He lies in blood, and Crafton coldly says that it was his recklessness that led to the fall. The giant loomed over him and said that his fate was decided. But Tsukuru gets up with a challenge in his eyes and says he was just warming up. Crafton laughs at that audacious statement. He rushes forward again, vowing to forever put an end to this cool guy mask. The beastman mockingly taunts the opponent and defiantly asks, "Why are you so passive?" He gloats that thanks to increased strength and speed, Tsukuru was forced to switch entirely to defense. Tsukuru barely manages. His hands are occupied only with repelling the relentless onslaught. The divine sword in his hand knows this fight is too difficult for him at his current level. They say that Crafton's level and strength are significantly higher. In a direct fight, Tsukuru simply has no chance. The sword suggests a new strategy. Tsukuru must use his camouflage and dark magic to create a distraction while the sword searches for a gap. It issues one short command after another, pushing Tsukuru to move faster and even more precisely. Crafton notices a sudden change. In the opponent's movements, the sword urges Tsukuru to push his body to the limits of its capabilities. And suddenly a crack appears, and the sword orders him to strike the enemy in the face. Crafton mockingly laughs, saying that the dull sword will never wound him, but the blade suddenly reveals its true nature. Black mist. Tsukuru raises the weapon, preparing to unleash its power. He announces his final move. The beastman freezes in shock. A destructive barrage of blows descends on Crafton. The beastman growls, refusing to surrender. He skillfully parries the attack, and Tsukuru can hardly believe his eyes. A huge explosion occurs as a result of the blow. The surge of power throws both fighters backward. Tsukuru lies broken, and his sword seems alive, whispering, "Get up and heal, we were not prepared enough." Kraft stands over him. He urgently needs to prepare restorative food while the opponent can still be eaten. He admits it was a real fight. For the first time in his life, he was pushed so seriously to the limit. But just as he is about to deliver the final blow, Kanan throws herself in front of him, shouting in defiance. She swears she will not allow him to kill his master. As Tsukuru's consciousness fades, a mysterious voice asks, "Do you want to become stronger?" It warns him, if he does not answer immediately, they will both die. With new determination, Tsukuru swears he will not die here. He wants to become stronger than everyone. The divine being listens and agrees to remove her protection from him. She mysteriously whispered to him, "You will understand everything soon." Tsukuru sits down. His wound seems to have disappeared. Suddenly, a system window appeared on the screen. It notified that the seal of divine protection was removed, and he mastered a unique skill, Feast of the Gods. He stands up. A new power pulses within him. The skill allows him to prepare a dish that grants divine power for 5 minutes. He doesn't care who gave him this power. The only thing that matters is to defeat Crafton. As soon as I hastily swallowed the hastily made item, the skill activated. The notification informed that he was temporarily given the divine power of the goddess, and Kraft simply froze in silence because of this. The beastman snorted. He did not believe that a simple power boost could defeat someone as ancient as him. In a moment, Tsukuru appears right in front of him and delivers a devastating blow. Kraft on Rila's back froze from such a crazy speed that he didn't even manage to notice it. He already doubts whether his enemy is even human when another fierce slash cuts through his body. Tsukuru stands over the fallen enemy. His power is now stunning and overwhelming. He releases his last strike, the guillotine hellfire. A wave of dark energy completely engulfs Crafton. Tsukuru watches as his enemy is destroyed. The rain begins to fall on the silent, desolate battlefield. The consequences reveal only devastation before the eyes. The divine power awakened, but it cost too much. The hero stands victorious on the corpse of the colossal beast, covered in its blood. At this, his companion froze and simply uttered his title, Master. She is lost and cannot find the right words to say to him. Suddenly, Sanya jumped on his back and exclaimed excitedly how incredible he was in battle. The others gathered around, glancing at his condition, and one of them remarked that she expected nothing less from her master. The first girl clenched her fists, angry and depressed that she was useless again, and his sacrifice would have been in vain if he were defeated. But one of their allies warns them, the battle is not over yet. She reveals a terrible truth. Their enemy, Crafton, has the skill's second life. At that very moment, the resurrected Crafton rushed into attack, and the comrades frantically begged their master to strike before his divine power faded. But Crafton is too fast. he unleashes a powerful spell that knocks them all down. The explosion caught the main character completely by surprise. Dazzling light fills his vision the same as during the first summoning into this world. When it fades, he and his team find themselves in an empty, unfamiliar wasteland. By the power of Crafton's hammer, they were transported to another world, but at least everyone is still alive. This place is so familiar, almost the same world from which he comes. He realizes with growing horror that this desolate place is exactly where he began. Suddenly he falls to the ground, shocking his comrades. Lying face down, he feels a strange sensation slowly enveloping him. His body becomes completely unmanageable while his team calls his name and raises the alarm. Meanwhile, in the capital of Lucasandel, a desperate beastman fervently begs the summoned heroes for help. One of the heroes, Susanen, rushes forward to heal her poisoned daughter, but her friend quickly stops her. Friend anxiously warns her that beastmen are unreliable and will most likely attack and rob her. She coldly suggests that this man probably kidnapped the child, because people like him are known to feign illness for money. Susan is torn, struggling with the bitter truth that life in this world is not valued. Her friend expresses disgust towards the locals, saying they exploit people and abandon them without a second thought. She asks herself why they were even brought into this cruel world of slavery and discrimination to become heroes. Her thoughts turn to their abandoned classmate Tsukuru. She is gripped by horror. What if he became a beggar, or worse? Susanon screamed, begging her not to say such terrible things. Her friend tries to comfort her and insists, "Become stronger, and we can defeat the demon lord and return home." She gives a ray of hope, hinting that along the way they might even meet Tsukuru. Susanon squeezes her friend's hand and is once again convinced that she will see Tsukuru. In the desolate wasteland, the main hero lies unconscious. The price of his power has finally taken its toll. The team gathers around their fallen mentor, desperately trying to bring him back to consciousness. Although everything is clear in his mind, the hero's body seems paralyzed, a lingering consequence of the battle's recoil. His comrades understood. This is the punishment of the beast god. It deprived him of the sense of touch. The scale of the strange title he received shocks the others. It turned out that he was called an eccentric, because in the previous encounter he forgot that he was naked. Paralyzed and unable to speak, he only screams in his head for them to stop this shameful chatter. Antia and Hannah returned from reconnaissance and reported, "This place is swarming with demons. No other tribes are present." The main hero listens, and the words of Crafton come alive in his memory that giants and demons live on this land. Antioch recounts Tsukuru's words. The giants were driven out long ago during the War of the Gods. They wonder if that old type of demon has gone extinct, but quickly dismiss the thought it is impossible. Antioch believes that to tame the power of other tribes, they must either be subdued or locked away completely. With horror they realized, perhaps they are now inside that very prison. The main character admits, this is only a theory, but without the sense of touch he is powerless and needs time to recover. One of his comrades immediately responded and began setting up the tent. The rest quickly divide the tasks, preparing to set up camp and ensure security around. One of the girls notices that Kanan seems deeply troubled. Kanan tries to brush off the worry, assuring that everything is fine. Hannah gently soothes her, explaining that anxiety in their situation is quite normal, and warm food will calm the nerves a bit. Later in the tent, everyone rests, and the main character lies completely still. Hannah shudders when he suddenly grabs her hand, just as she tries to check if he is all right. He silently regrets his weakness, dreaming of having the strength to save her from suffering. Mech offers to speak for him, but he silently refuses. Hannah quietly thinks about the deep scars from the trauma and knows that they need a lot of time to truly heal. Suddenly, the sensation awakens again in his fingers, and the senses begin to return. When the sense of touch and skill fully returned, he stands up and summons a powerful undead servant. He decisively says that they will investigate this, but cannot help noticing this summoning consumed a strangely large amount of magic. Checking his status, he noticed nothing strange, only that the equivalent exchange absorbed his weaker skills. He concludes that the high cost of magic is a property of this strange land, and suddenly notices an unfamiliar woman in his status. He grits his teeth in frustration. Antia, with a spark in her eyes, tells about aggressive demonic scouts she sent while they were sleeping. She explains that from each demon corpse, his summoned familiar Bez can absorb their souls and create new servants. Bez returned from the mission and, with a heavy voice, reported that he reached the edge of this world, exterminating their enemies. Servant of the Undead confirms their worst fears. This is not their world, but a completely different dimension. The protagonist understands. In this new world may lie the key to return if only they can find enemies strong enough. Somewhere else on the throne, The Dark Lord learns that one of his squads has disappeared without a trace. The commander is grim, not even corpses remain. They summon a subordinate named Gazan, a creature who has been captive for centuries, and give him a single command: destroy the invaders. He cast a glance, knelt down, and without any hesitation accepted his master's order. The Bone Mage confirms that the Ancient One is indeed in this very castle. The main hero gives the order, and the squad prepares to move forward. For suddenly their path was blocked by a demonic nobleman vampire count named Jazing. Level 245 demon swears to annihilate all who dare disturb this holy land. He had not yet finished his threat when he was interrupted mid-sentence. One of the beastly warriors had already launched a lightning-fast and brutal attack. They move forward, and one of the companions notices how suddenly many anomalies appear around. The elf correctly guesses this means they are approaching their true goal, ancient type. The main character discusses the giant's weapon Mjolnir and suggests that it was given to him by someone from outside. Another companion agrees and firmly says, neither elves nor beastmen nor dwarves possess the magic to create such an artifact. The Lick suggests that these are the tricks of cunning death spirits who are hostile to the giant tribe, or that the weapon was stolen. Only the tribes of humans or demons remain, and this forces the hero to reconsider who that ancient species really is. Suddenly the air is compressed by an oppressive, enormous pressure. Thousands of soldiers are instantly destroyed. The protagonist recognizes this stunning presence. It is Anti-A, a creature above level 300, and he says that this massacre cannot be forgiven. One of his companions responds by unleashing a barrage of magical energy. The squad grits their teeth and gathers their will before the upcoming confrontation. Soon they find themselves face to face with new formidable enemies. The ancient evil named Catubulpas is seated on the throne, a level 440 demon, who is tormenting one of the hero's companions. The demoness mockingly points to the betrayal of her subordinate. He continues to speak condescendingly, calling them fools for daring to contradict him in his own domain. The hero sharply replied, who is the real fool here if the demon tribe has to borrow power just to fight? The enraged beast warrior Sanya lunges forward and vows to overthrow him herself. But the demon is already ready. He unleashes his skill, Cursed Eyes. Kill Sanya falls under his gaze and collapses, paralyzed on the floor. Catubul, with a confident smile, boasts that resistance is futile before his ocular powers. He shouts that no one can look away from his cursed eyes. The demon immediately delivers a second blow, his poisonous eyes. The hero instantly shields the fallen comrade and loudly shouts to the others, don't look. The demon laughs, saying that everyone touched by his curse is now his puppet. But in the blur of movement, the hero instantly closes the distance between them. Ancient Demon completely stunned by this impossible speed. Using the presence detection system, the hero is on alert, preparing to strike even with eyes closed. The monster only silently stares, not believing its eyes, as the human delivers the decisive blow. The demon tries to activate its second life skill, and the hero coldly informs him that it is already over. He whispered to the dying creature that of all the ancient species he had encountered, this one was the weakest. After the battle, the squad inspects the monster's remains, but Sanya apologizes sadly she found no useful information. The main hero looked at the creature's flesh with disgust and admitted that he did not want to eat it at all. Anti-A approaches her master, kneels before him, and makes a serious request. She begs for permission to taste the feast of the gods. Kennen clearly stated her demand. She insists on consuming the banquet of the gods. She notices that even in her sleep, Dolce still protects her. A woman with cat ears appeared in the doorway. The woman suddenly invited her for a walk, and this caught Kanan by surprise. Handing over the jar, she asks Kanan not to tell Sana what is inside it. She shows that the jar is full of sweets. This is a secret request from the Abba's family maid. Kanyin, with bitterness in her heart, considers herself hopeless. She feels that as a student she has not progressed at all. She compares herself to a servant with cat ears, and the latter calmly replies that unlike Kanan, she has sinned. Kanan recalls that the servant was blackmailed, but she clarifies Lord Abbess and Master Alteria were also targeted. The maid swears to repay the kindness shown by dedicating herself entirely to her master. She admits that her skills are worthless compared to the master's, but she can still be useful. Her words became a real relief for Kana, and he sincerely thanks her. With new determination, she decides to do everything in her power. The scene returns again to the main character. He extends the divine artifact. He warns her about the limits of gluttony, but she is stubborn, determined to eat the very banquet of the gods. She knows that this power grants her the magic of space and time, the ability to travel between worlds, a power she has longed for centuries. He warns her, the effect will last only 5 minutes, then her feelings will be destroyed, but she agrees to pay this price. At first she assures, as soon as his revenge is fulfilled, she will return him home. Or she even offers to accompany him back to his native world. The main character's face darkens when his former home is mentioned. Saying that he no longer has any attachment to that world, he allows her to taste the banquet of the gods. He gazes at the golden, shimmering piece of divine flesh. He orders her to focus on her desire while she consumes it. The taste immediately repels, but he strictly commands her to swallow. But she restrains it within herself and prays with all her heart for power, asking specifically for the magic of space and time that will help them return. From the place where she stands, a powerful wave of energy explodes. She is enveloped in dazzling light, and ethereal spirits appear around her. Others watch as warm, beautiful light fills the room. With tears in her eyes, she said it was time for them to return. Her spell worked and their path back to the native world began. Elsewhere, a figure in a flowing cloak reported their failure. They confirm there is still no trace of what they are looking for. The invisible lord dismissed the last attempt as a failure and ordered to summon the next wave of heroes. He quietly mutters that he might awaken. He angrily complains that all summoned heroes are below level 100 and completely useless. He ominously reveals his twisted plan, to gather the failed heroes and sacrifice them for the next summoning ritual. Finally, the cold, merciless face of the one behind these summons was shown. A mysterious woman smiles warmly as the shimmering portal transports the group. A voice full of determination declared that it was returning to its world. But the main hero suddenly finds himself alone in a calm, unfamiliar garden. He looks around anxiously. Suspiciously studying the surroundings, he feels that his comrades are no longer nearby. Realizing that this is neither the wolf forest nor Japan, he heard a voice she welcomed him to her kingdom. He turns sharply and instantly becomes alert, but she says there is no reason for alarm. The calm woman assures that she is not an enemy. She introduced herself, Ohuru Minamakoto, one of the guardian deities of Japan. Unimpressed, he demands to know where his friends are. The goddess frankly said that she brought him here herself. She has several requests for him. She says she knows everything about his life, even about what happened before his birth. The goddess named every detail of his summoning, and he froze in surprise. He accuses her of inaction, but she reveals the truth. If she had intervened, it would have caused an interdimensional scale explosion and wiped all of Japan off the face of the earth. She explains that the cataclysm would have spread across the entire earth, erasing every living creature from the planet's surface. Instead, she showered the summoned one with blessings, removing the seal from his S-rank luck and other abilities. The goddess confirms that she was the source of his superhuman abilities. Suddenly, she changed her facial expression, and with a smile, declared that her blessings had turned all his skills into real cheats. She had to carefully adjust the power, because her full might would destroy his first-level mental body. He agrees with her arguments, and with curiosity in his voice, asks about her true purpose. She gives him a task, to destroy all interdimensional summoning structures in another world to prevent new kidnappings. Memories surged, he realizes that his power was always created precisely for this. Obsessed with points, Kreswav Academy, character First Correctional School Iron Gates. He agreed to her terms, but slyly asked what his reward would be. The goddess is stunned. She thought her blessings were already a sufficient reward, but he treats it as a separate deal. After a few minutes of bargaining, she reluctantly agrees to his demand for additional money. She leans closer and, as part of the payment, offers valuable information. The goddess remembered his sister Ayumi, and he was completely unprepared for this. She says that his comrades will soon be able to return home, all thanks to Kanan, who mastered the magic of space and time. But she issues a stern warning. Under no circumstances should his classmates be allowed to return to Japan. To prevent global panic, the goddess had to go back in time and erase all 18 and 10 students from reality. She whispers that they no longer exist in Japan, even their birth certificates have disappeared, and returning will only bring them suffering. He asks himself, what will happen if someone insists on returning anyway? She offers salvation. She can create new identities for them and allow them to live as completely different people. The sword quietly and confidently replies, it does not intend to stop him. In fact, it says that the form of his vengeful soul perfectly matches its power. It calls itself Kurakiri, the Sword of Death, and says to him, just imagine your desire. The main hero asks about the nearest towns, but Kurakiri brings grim news. They stand in the very center of the dangerous forest of bullets. The sword suddenly realized. It consciously came to this dangerous place to challenge the king of the forest. Before their eyes appears a colossal monster, the Imperial Dragon, level 300. The hero froze. The power of this creature far surpasses anything he has ever encountered. The dragon immediately unleashes Imperial Breath, a stream of destructive energy. The deafening force of the explosion knocked him down. He lost consciousness. The spirit of the girl he saved desperately calls him, trying to find out if he is still alive. She screams his name as the huge jaws of the dragon close, ready to tear him apart. But at the last moment the hero suddenly disappears, and the beast snaps its teeth at empty air. He resorted to dark magic and teleported away from inevitable death. Hiding in the very shadow of the dragon, he whispers to his companion, "It's time to counterattack." He swallows a healing potion. His energy is restored instantly. As he retreats, creating distance between them, the dragon unleashes a devastating breath again. The spirit is horrified. She knows that no one has survived an encounter with this monster so far. She warns, the beast will hunt him while he summons an iron wall to hold back its assault. The breath of the Emperor Dragon effortlessly breaks the magical barrier. Trapped, he knows he can neither escape nor get close enough to attack. He decides the new plan is to use Remove Presence, sneak up on unseen, and dismantle it. He activates the skill and disappears, momentarily confusing the huge dragon. The beast rages, unable to find its invisible enemy. The hero silently lands on the dragon's back, preparing to deliver the final blow. But the dragon's eye suddenly opens, wide it sensed his presence despite the attempt at stealth. It fiercely throws him off its back, and he falls to the ground with a loud thud. He raises another wall, confused how did that creature find him. The spirit explained that his uncontrollable, murderous intent revealed his location. This revelation pushes the hero toward a radical, almost insane idea. He realized there is only one chance. He must use Fabricate to turn murderous intent into love. He approaches and gently places his hand on the colossal beast. With one last decisive cry, he prepares to unleash his transformed power. He activates Dismantle, and the Imperial Dragon is instantly defeated. Deep in the forest, he stumbles upon a strange machine filled with spheres and wonders if it is some kind of trap. Seeing no immediate danger, he decides to try his luck, hoping for a powerful item. A black capsule appears before him. He touches it, and a message instantly announces that he has acquired the skill equivalent exchange. His companion asks if one skill is a poor reward, and he explains, it is a unique ability, much rarer than ordinary skills. The sword insists that he level up his skills, and he agrees that they will have to rely on each other to become stronger. He easily slashes the monster, and thanks his conscious blade for the invaluable lessons. The cycle of battle and victories runs in his blood. Through this relentless routine, he discovers new passive resistances within himself to both physical and magical attacks. His status reveals a formidable arsenal of abilities, among them the newly acquired resistances and the mysterious equivalent exchange. His companion insists that before leaving the forest, he abandoned his torn rags and changed into decent gear. From the skins of fallen beasts, he creates a new, formidable set of armor for himself. Now in a hellbear fur coat and a tall fur jacket, he is fully prepared for the journey that lies ahead. He stands ready, pondering whom he will meet first in this unfamiliar world. He sees the truth of their agreement, a deadlock, where no one can take a step without the other. The goddess presents their pact as a mutual partnership. She places her hand on his face and says she is counting on him that he will succeed. But after saying his full name, she sends him away everything before his eyes turns white, and he is instantly transported from her garden. He reappears in the middle of the wolf forest, and his companions, sighing with relief, greet him. He silently curses the goddess Hurum for making his already difficult life even more complicated. Kanan expresses his concern, but his mind is fixated on the new information about Ayumi. Teammates advise him to rest, insisting that his condition is the price for divine skill. Although he agrees, his thoughts are constantly with his sister. He considers her fate separate and much more important. He asks how many days have passed since Crafton retreated. The hero smiles. Almost a month has passed, and he sincerely thanks his allies for protecting the village and forest in his absence. Suddenly, a fierce quarrel breaks out among his comrades. The dwarf grumbles, complains about the damage caused, and admits that he and the ancient creature lent their power to Antier. As soon as the immediate crisis passed, the main hero explains that news of the human country's troubles will now spread. His allies ask what exactly happened after Crafton was forced to retreat. Elsewhere, a mighty figure roars in despair. He boils with Temis's betrayal. He does not understand why he allied with Antier to crush them. He hissed that he would not hesitate to resort to demons to achieve his goals. He gave a grim order to start a war against the traitor. The shot shifts to a young woman named Susanen. She is bent over in despair. She is tormented by memories of a boy who begged her for help. The faces of the dead flicker in her consciousness, a grim reminder of her helplessness. She remembers the feeling of complete powerlessness. She is called a saint, But her power is only in healing. She is unable to fight or defy the will of those who summoned her. She feels that she has always been just a burden. Her friends protected her, and she could only cry. A knock on the door snaps her out of her trance. Her friend Mickey has arrived. Mickey insists she must eat something before she feels worse. Walking to the dining hall, Mickey casually mentions that today's lunch is steak. Suddenly, the students around them freeze and stare at something further down the corridor. They see Kuriyama Kaido, one of the others summoned, along with a slave who is a small child. He gloats about how easily he can buy slaves just by selling loot from the dungeons. With disgust, another female student approaches him, but he brushes her off and makes a vile proposal to the frightened child. He gently tells the child that he will wash her clean. Suzanen instantly intervenes and firmly demands that he leave the child alone. Kato angrily shouts at her to be quiet, questioning her right to judge him. He says that in this new world, only those who can adapt will survive, and mockingly laughs at her constant tears. Suzanen sharply retorts that he is the one living in dreams and must finally face reality. Meanwhile, other students gather around her and take her side. An authoritative voice cut through the noise and sternly demanded to know what was happening here. The students looked up at the majestic ceremonial stairs. Suddenly, a loud bell rang through the hall. Everyone froze in surprise. Royal officials confidently enter and demand to know where the heroes are. The announcement shook everyone. Giants and demons are advancing. The heroes must immediately prepare for battle. An order was given to join other heroes from the eastern region and repel the invasion. Fear passed like a wave through the summoned students, who thought their only goal was to fight the distant Lord of Demons. The instructor turned to Suzanen and asked, "What will you do?" Mickey steps forward and resolutely vows to protect her friend. Susan tells her not to speak, as if she is ready to die. She realizes with horror, if a few healers among them die, everyone will be destroyed, while some guys boast about their training. One of the fighters turns to her and begs, "Heal me if I get wounded in this battle." She nods because she knows healing is the only role that only she can perform. Clenching her teeth, she decides not to cry anymore. "We will all survive this together." There is no more time for tears. The Lord was informed that demons and giants are approaching from the eastern sea. Although knights and heroes fought desperately, they were overwhelmed by the enemy's numerical superiority, and he must turn to the alliance of the four tribes for help. The battlefield is a picture of chaos and destruction, bodies scattered across the burned land. Somewhere else, the summoned students found themselves in a hopeless situation. When one of their own was wounded, panic gripped them. They realized they were on the brink of total destruction. The student leader Kyujo takes the situation into his own hands and rejects the idea of surrender that would mean instant death. He pulled out a pouch of pills for strengthening the body, which the chief priest had given him. Others immediately began demanding the pills, but Kyujo warned. After 10 hours, they make the one who took them immobile. United by this new power, they decide to use the pills to completely destroy the enemy troops. When the drugs took effect, a surge of energy rushed through them. Filled with new confidence, the students rush into battle. When they gather to fight, one of them resolutely says, "No." Kyujo finally admits his true intention. They are not fighting, they are running away, because they feel no loyalty to their kidnappers. One student asks why he was handing out pills if the plan was to retreat, and another admits he really has a valid point. Suddenly, one of their classmates falls into a frenzy. His eyes blaze with rage. He realizes the terrible truth. The pills cause uncontrollable rage and make them fight until they collapse from exhaustion. He exposes Kyujo's betrayal. He used them all as bait to cover his escape. The berserk orders the others to flee, holding the defense himself, his body already succumbing to the effects of the pill. The rest of the students rushed into the dense forest. 2 girls follow the tracks, and one of them swears she will make Kyujo pay for his betrayal. She refuses to abandon her friend, says she would rather die than leave him. Her companion agrees and says she fights not for this kingdom, but to protect her friends. Their determination has hardened. They stand shoulder to shoulder. They come out onto a large clearing, an extremely open and vulnerable place. Suddenly, a towering giantess emerges before them. The giantess spoke and confirmed that she is small for her kind, which greatly surprised the girl. She stands over the body of one of their fallen classmates. The giantess mocks them, challenges the swordswoman, "Try to defeat me," and she gladly accepts it. The girl rushes with dazzling speed and delivers a powerful blow to the colossal enemy. Her blade strikes, but the giant remains completely unharmed by the attack. The sorceress begins to whisper a spell, preparing a supportive enchantment. She does not know how to attack. She vows to keep her friend close, ready to heal her at any moment. The giantess sighed from boredom. She was tired of this tactic. After each of her strikes, the opponent instantly heals. Changing her target, The giant rushed at the healer, but her friend intercepted the attack. The girl takes the full force of the blow, meant for her companion. Although she was thrown into the air, she grits her teeth. She will not allow herself to be outwitted again. She lies heavily wounded on the ground, and the giant looms over her. The sorceress shouts at her to stop, while the giant prepares the final blow. The giant roars, "This is the end." She lowers her fist to crush the fallen student. The elder explains bitterly how Crafton has recently been using giants and demons to secretly invade the human country. The werewolves wonder what happened to the summoned heroes, and the elves ask the main hero where he is going. He announced that he is heading to the human country. He swears to return as soon as Conan recovers, and his sudden departure leaves his comrades stunned. But before he can leave, a colossal presence spreads from a nearby sanctuary. A group of figures in robes appears there, power palpable in the air. The protagonist is shocked by their sudden appearance. He recognizes their leader and, not hiding his surprise, asks, "What is he doing here?" The Queen of the Elves recognizes him as a human of an ancient type. Elder Thames falls to his knees and begs for help. The giants have attacked his village. The Queen of the Elves snorts and refuses to believe his plea for cooperation. She accuses him. He organized the attack on Crafton, giving them the divine weapon Yalnir. She demands an apology for his betrayal, painfully reminding him of his past attacks. Themis apologizes. He never imagined that Crafton would use that weapon with such savage cruelty. The main hero watches, troubled by this easy forgiveness. The queen confesses. Once Themis tried to exterminate her entire tribe to establish human dominance. Suddenly, one of the elders' guards shouted a loud warning. The knights push everyone aside, clearing the way. Themis stands before the main hero and says he still cannot let him go home. The elder sternly warns him not to resort to violence, and in response calls him Saintsil. A dark memory floods the hero, and he swears he never forgot how he was rejected. He lunges forward like a blurred flash of movement, demanding to know if the elder remembers him now. He unleashes a furious torrent of earth magic. A malicious smile spreads across his face as he challenges the elder to retaliate. He admits that his previous enemy Crafton was better both in strength and speed. But it changed nothing. He still killed him without hesitation. The main hero weaves dark bonds of magic around the elder, but this is only the beginning. When the old man screamed, he confessed that all the training was only for this moment of revenge. Themis, in despair, offers wealth, power, and even an entire country, but hears only a cold refusal. The main hero reminds him his revenge is absolute. He sharply asks, did the elder really believe he could avoid punishment for his crimes? He promises to inflict the same terrible torments that he himself was forced to endure. He is about to strike, and suddenly someone's hand gently stops his blade. It is Conan. She urges him calm down and use this chance to interrogate. The Elven Queen interrogates the captured elder about the last plan of the man. He throws the truth in the face. Their goal is complete domination, and for this, the powerful tribe of phantoms must be destroyed. The main hero felt that something was off. The summoned people do not have the light magic needed for such a feat. The elder laughed and announced that there is another way to achieve his goal. But even before he could tell more, his laughter suddenly stopped. He instantly died. An unknown flame instantly incinerated his body. It turns out that the bony mage named Biz is the very killer, and he flees deep underground. The hero spits curses, angry about the escape, and even more so because it is still unclear whom the old man was working for. Kynan apologizes for interfering, but reassures her it is not her fault. Plans have changed, and he asks his comrades if they will go with him. Elsewhere, two other summoned heroes are determined to save someone very dear to them. A figure like the Pope apologizes before the Elven Queen and her retinue. The Lick confirms their target was moving too fast to track. Probably he hid in his dwelling. The leader of the beast folk swears to protect the Elven village and evacuate people from its territory, although she does not yet fully understand what is happening. The Elven Queen simply thanks. When the team decides that the next path is too long, the main hero dares to use a special item. He summons a flying carpet, a magical thing from his world, that makes the companions freeze in amazement. They soar high in the sky, above the treacherous land below. From their height, they see a gigantic battlefield raging fiercely below. In the midst of the raging chaos, they noticed a wild, monstrous man. The main hero notices that not all heroes are visible, and these new fighters' statuses are not readable at all. The creature on the ground instantly senses their presence in the sky. It dashed upward at a terrifying speed, frightening the main hero. A jump of such force creates a colossal shockwave. The mighty warrior roared menacingly, "This is the end." A young woman named Mickey cries in despair, but suddenly a familiar smell catches her attention. The warrior who held her captive also caught the scent on a piece of cloth. She turns to her prisoner and demands, "Who are you?" Suddenly, the main hero appears between them, drawing his weapon. He calmly orders the warrior to release the girl and retreat from the battlefield. The large woman hesitated, trying to help one of her wounded. Her subordinates did not understand and openly asked why she refused to attack one person. They demand an answer. Why should their entire army retreat? She sees the stunning power of the hero and knows he can destroy them all in an instant. She is a mother, so she will not allow her sons to be killed. The main hero rushes to Mickey. Her former companions watch and sigh with relief she is healed. He calms her down, reminding her of his promise that they will meet again. Overwhelmed with emotion, she hugs him tightly. She apologizes for being helpless. She could only watch as he suffered before. He gently soothes her, whispering that she was the only one who ever protected him. The companion softly asks if she needs healing, but he refuses. He explains that she simply fainted from boundless relief. Then the main character noticed the enemy commander and sharply asked where Temis was. Suddenly, a terrible presence loomed over the entire battlefield. In a dark cave, a new powerful demon is born from pure malice. It declares the end of the demon's suffering, fueled by their shared hatred. The new creature screams the names of its targets, swearing revenge. It unleashes its dark power on the battlefield. The great warrior woman and her sons were suddenly seized by a storm of ominous energy. A new demon commands them to become his limbs and fight for his cause. The demon is just beginning his furious attack, and a shadowy tentacle instantly pierces one of the warriors. The main hero and his team can only watch as the demons, in madness, start attacking each other. The dark, shadowy creature suddenly lunges forward and bites the hero's shoulder with its fangs. When the man screams, the observer realizes that with the death of Kitabapas, a new ancient-type demon was born. A hooded figure watches the chaos flare up, knowing that the demons have finally broken free from the giant's control. He reflects that this event will radically change the course of the war. Below, the rest of the heroes see. The demons have risen, turning their fury against their former masters and forcing the giants to fully retreat. They recover from the sudden turn of events and cannot comprehend. Has the war, in which they fought so desperately, truly ended? No longer bound by orders, they ponder what next step to take, realizing that now they can do whatever they want. Their leader confirms this with a sinister smile. Now they are free. One of the men dreams of returning home as a celebrated hero, and imagines a luxurious life. He grimaced, recalling the slave woman he left behind, and eagerly awaited the moment he would see her again. Elsewhere, a half-human resembling a rabbit tenderly cares for a young girl and worries about her naivety in this dangerous land. She sighs, how much longer must she look after the girl, and will their master ever return at all? Meanwhile, Mickey lies unconscious on the ground. Her friend Susan froze on the stairs in shock, a terrible vision of Mickey's mutilated body flashing before her eyes. Susan sharply wakes her and frantically checks if she is alive and unharmed. As if a burden lifted from her shoulders, she tightly embraces Mickey, who explains that some Hannah healed her body. A woman with cat ears introduced herself, explaining that she only gave healing food that the master had passed to her. Another woman named Conan introduced herself, and the two girls thanked them for their help. They were stunned when they learned that both Hannah and Conan were slaves. Hannah tells that their master saved her when she was unjustly accused and was about to be sold into slavery. Now they stand before a huge mansion, having learned that the war ended because of a demon uprising. An elf named Auntie A begins to introduce herself, but the conversation is instantly interrupted when Suzanen's friend, shockingly, finds out that Tsukyuru is her boyfriend's killer. The whole group froze when Suzanen was asked if Tsukyuru was her boyfriend. Just as she brushed him off as merely a childhood friend, the main hero himself returned. A beast girl burst in with a huge boar on her shoulder, loudly announcing her arrival, and everyone recognized her Ayumi. This causes incredible confusion. Ayumi was believed to be dead, and the group immediately notices her stunning resemblance to Seini and Titch. Inside, he convinces himself Sonya is an exact copy of his sister Ayumi. He explains that Ayumi was not his biological sister, but the daughter of the family that took him in after his parents died. Tragically, 2 years ago, her entire family died in a car accident. That's why he was so shocked. When he saw Sonya at first, he mistook her for Ayumi. Sonya explains that her appearance is simply typical for her beast tribe. She briefly recounts the past. She met their mentor after he rescued her and Hannah from captivity. Auntie I finds it interesting she assumes that there must be some connection between Sanya and Ayumi. The main character clenches his fist, determined to get to the truth, but for that, he will have to do a favor for someone named Hurum. Suddenly, behind them materializes a towering skeletal figure that frightens the girls. The creature asked if they had found that old man, and the main character briefly replied, "Yes, we found him." Next to the skeletal mage stands a calm girl with cat ears in a dark dress. She greets the group with a polite smile and introduces herself as Altarius. Suddenly, a woman with fox ears appears before them and calls Ali. She smiles warmly, ready to explain her sudden appearance. Ali confesses that the main character was the first person she met right after passing through the transfer gate, and she is glad that everyone is safe. She explains that she created the entire mansion as a base, using her skill, equivalent exchange. The protagonist sharply got to the point and demanded to know why she was really here. Ali confessed that her father tried to forcibly marry her off in an arranged marriage. Smiling, she states that she ran away after telling him she would only marry the strongest in the world. The group gathers to discuss the rapid deterioration of the situation in their world. Ali turns her gaze to the main hero, sensing his involvement in the current events in the world. It was announced that non-human creatures must relocate to human lands. Algria is already accepting refugees. Ali says that direct intervention will be seen as a show of force, and it will break the peaceful relations of their kingdom with the neighbors. She finally admits her true goal is to help the hero take revenge on the king who betrayed him. By helping him, she will be able to weaken the power of humanity and simultaneously achieve both of their goals. He asks how she plans to handle such a huge task. Her planet is treacherous. She seeks to crush them from within, using his spirit challenge to create a double. The double is a legendary monster that steals the very essence of a person and completely replaces them. The strategy is simple: to replace leaders in each country, step by step destroying the king's network of allies until he is completely alone. The entire plan relies on his strength, and Ali asks if he is ready to act. He responds instantly, without hesitation. The other girls noticeably react, feeling the full seriousness of the situation. One of them shouted as soon as the monster appeared, and another anxiously asks if the team is going to move. The hero decisively confirmed they are heading to human lands to fight. The girl who screamed is gripped by fear and says that after the previous injury she cannot fight again. Her friends calm her down and advise instead to seek protection from knights in Albray. Everyone returned to Suzanen and earnestly pleaded, "Rush into battle, don't sit on the sidelines." Even if she cannot fight directly, her holy magic as a saint would be an invaluable aid to the team. The main hero asks if she is sure, warning her about the huge danger that awaits them. Filled with determination, Suzanen vows to give her all. She stands firm, ready to face the upcoming conflict. Another girl panics and shouts that she understands everything. Suddenly, a mighty monster appears before them. Some girls are clearly traumatized by what they have seen. Late Ellie tells Suzanen that if she really wants to join them, she first needs to prove that she can stand up for herself. She releases a powerful sound wave. Another fighter releases a volley of holy spears. Together the strikes caused a powerful explosion, and the trainees, who had no idea this was a combat test, were shocked. Suddenly their vision was filled with system messages, each shouting that they had leveled up. Using the call of his spirit, the main character summons a powerful Lord Doppelganger. He gives the new entity a name, Israel. He remembers the contempt of those who summoned him, and it only fuels his revenge. His goal is uncompromising: to conquer the countries of human chauvinism without a drop of mercy. Breaking the teleportation portals, he plans to capture their countries one by one. The plans go perfectly thanks to the brilliant strategist on his side, and this will soon greatly disappoint an old enemy. The bony subordinate says that survivors from the Suzuno group have been found. Standing in the middle of the captured city, the main hero loudly proclaimed that this would become the new base for the heroes. The other summoned gathered before him. They stubbornly refuse to become his pawns. He understands their anger, but cannot approve of their reckless actions. He decisively orders his subordinate not to touch them for now, and to quietly continue the investigation without informing others. Elsewhere, the guest under their care is worried and thinks about how Suzuno is doing. His comrades were completely exhausted after the grueling training by the sea. Suzuno and Altarius successfully reached the goal. Their strength was visible, as if on the palm of a hand. The main hero appears before them and acknowledges their success. When asked what's next, he simply replies, "It's time to eat." Suzuno is stunned. She eats sushi, the taste of her old world, and even from this food gains a new ability. The others watch in surprise as he sets up the banquet. He watches them savor the food, and from this taste, a wave of nostalgia washes over him. He thinks about returning home. But a bitter verdict came. He had to erase their existence from Earth, knowing that they would never be able to return. He hovers over a deserted, icy wasteland, deep in thought. Suddenly, dark energy explodes from below and flies straight at him. He remains calm, his gaze sharp and focused, while his subordinate reacts to the ambush. In the distance, his comrades felt alarm and shouted his name in fear. And a sinister presence looms. His ally, the skeleton, shouted a terrible warning. Something is happening to Biz. The poisonous mist over the desolate wasteland grows stronger and stronger. The group rushes on a flying carpet over the cursed waters. In the distance, their goal emerges a fortress in the lands of death, destroyed during Ragnarok. The main hero clearly senses the presence of his target, confirming that they are right here. Suddenly, ghostly creatures surge at them from the poisonous mist. One of his companions jumps forward, shouting that she will deal with the ghosts herself. And even holy magic is powerless. Here you cannot kill what is already dead. Magic creates a barrier for a moment and restrains the creature's advance. And it is here that he lost the trail of his goal. Ahead they notice a strange stone monument. One of the comrades mistakenly takes it for a treasure map. The main character stops her and recognizes the language inscribed on that object, Japanese from his native world. The whole group is stunned by this impossible discovery. They guess that this message was left by someone else summoned from Japan. Putting the mystery aside, they resolutely rush on to continue searching. Suddenly their path is blocked by a colossal three-headed guardian beast. The terrible Cerberus, with a fierce gaze, looks down at the group, not a hospitable welcome at all. Suddenly the beast lunges forward to attack. It resolutely declares, "I will destroy any threat to my master." The guardian releases a torrent of destructive energy from its jaws. But Hannah steps forward, determined to intercept this explosion on her own. She jumps straight onto the three-headed monster, shocking the creature. Instantly, with incredible speed, she struck one of its heads with a powerful blow. She immediately delivers another devastating strike to the beast. She proudly asserts, "I am a she-wolf, a top-level predator." In a moment, the fight ended, and the comrades joyfully praised her for the lightning victory. From the dispersing smoke clouds emerges the skeletal knight Antie, but it is clear she is distorted. The companions accidentally call Bez, but the main hero instantly senses danger. Antie screams as the dark force consumes her. Her form disintegrates and transforms into a sinister swarm. The swarm attacks the hero, is forced to defend his team. Controlled counter-reforms. She begged her master to leave, but at the same time prepared to attack him. Another ally, suggests restraining Antie, pushing the hero to move forward. Moving forward, the elven priestess suddenly realizes she knows who is behind this curse. He feels a true enemy ahead and rushes forward, leaving the fight to his comrades. He recognizes the sinister presence and the black fog and fears that another ally has fallen. And two shadowy figures emerged from the fog, trying to block his path. He cuts them down without thinking for a second, his focus unwavering. Finally, he reached the source. It turned out to be another of his former comrades, now a puppet. He hardened his resolve and vowed to destroy the entity controlling his friend. He stands before huge, lavishly decorated doors, the source of this evil. From the shadows emerges a mighty lord demon with horns. The entity watches the lone mortal who managed to reach his throne room. From the place where the queen stood, a huge sound explosion burst forth. The elf notes that there is no end to the phantom attackers, and the skeletal leader says it is hard to hold back when fighting against a friend. The young girl looks with deep anxiety. One of the phantoms addresses her lord. The hero felt incredible energy bursting from that creature and vowed to chop it down. In the status window appears his opponent, an ancient ghost, a high-level creature with a terrible ability to make physical attacks useless. The ghost snorted with contempt at the very thought that a human could defeat him, and the hero loudly declared his faithful black mist is enough. The ancient ghost says he simply took back a subordinate who was stolen from him, and the main hero completely rejects this accusation. Ignoring the voice of reason, he rushed forward. The intelligent weapon persuades him to calm down, and the ancient ghost notes that he possesses such a rare and unusual weapon. The spirit taunts him, but the black mist coldly repels the attempt at intimidation. The main hero froze in surprise. The enemy moved at incredible speed, but he insists that he is still faster. The blade passed through the ghost's body, and vain physical strikes simply do not affect it. The ghost taunts him, "Use the cleansing skill," while the black mist shouts that its master does not listen to it. The weapon becomes increasingly irritated and yells at the one holding it for such recklessness. Tsukuru tells his sword, "Stay aside." He is determined to defeat the enemy on his own. The ancient ghost mockingly calls this weapon a decorative toy, unfit for real combat. Unafraid, Tsukuru unleashes a powerful conqueror's slash. The attack hit and wounded the ghost to his great surprise. The spirit mocks the minor wound, brushing it off as if it were trash. Tsukuru barely dodges a volley of shadow blades. Phantom ethereal limbs lunged forward to drag him into the nets. He was grabbed and fiercely thrown against the rubble of the ruins. He barely manages to deflect the next blow. Two warriors turn into a blurred whirl of movement as their attacks collide. Sukuru realized the ghostly hand that brings disease is a serious threat, and he cannot allow it to touch him. He knows once he is hit, he will lose. Understanding this, he decides to win without taking a single hit. The fighters exchange glances, fully focused. A destructive explosion of energy bursts from their duel. Sukuru is caught in the destructive shockwave. He grits his teeth and understands the full seriousness of his situation. In a desperate struggle, he tries to withstand the overwhelming force. The ghost attacks again, and Sukuru loudly utters the name of his weapon, Black Mist. The attack was deflected. He slid back across the broken floor. Checking the blade, he sighs with relief. It did not break, apologizes for his carelessness, and promises to be more careful. The sword seemed to vibrate in response. The eyes of the ancient ghost narrowed. He recognized the soul of the intelligent weapon. It recognizes the blade, the very person who once reincarnated to become a sword. Sukuru froze in stunned silence at this revelation. The ghost firmly says that the Black Mist was once a human and orders her to change her appearance. A dark force begins to rage around the blade and its wielder. The bone mage suddenly feels the hopelessness of their situation. Allies ask him for a plan, and on their faces only anxiety. Suddenly, terrifying monsters leap at them from the shadows, forcing them to defend themselves. A volley of fire projectiles explodes among them. One of the warriors finds herself in the midst of a storm of summoned weapons. The elven strategist realized that their enemy uses the technique of summoning the dead, which makes their opponents immortal. The enslaved skeleton reveals the truth. To break free, they will have to either kill its puppeteer or kill it itself. He insists, find his master, the explanation of his death will calm the summoned spirits. The girl of the king of beasts refuses to harm their savior. But the elf woman steps forward, her decision may. Having done this, she coldly brushed him off, calling him merely a death spirit. With one lightning-fast move, she shatters his physical form. Others watched in horror, questioning her ruthless actions. She calmly explains that a death spirit cannot be killed simply by destroying its body. While the undead horde looms, the priestess focuses and prepares holy magic to seal the spirit. The team grits their teeth and prepares to face the endless wave of monsters. The army of demons, and above it the sky filled with bats, looks at them, challenging them. The priestess announced, "Now I will unleash my magic that will cover the entire vicinity without any restrictions." She cast a highest-level spell and summoned two powerful holy spirits. The Kreswav Academy is obsessed with points, and the Iron Gate Correctional School values character above all. A bright flash of sacred light engulfs the battlefield. Creatures of darkness recoiled and howled piercingly in pain. In the midst of chaos, Sonya was caught off guard. Her friends shouted a warning. A huge beast lunged forward, but Kanan threw herself in front of Sonya, becoming her living shield. Kanan takes upon herself the full merciless force of the attack. Sonya froze in shock, looking at the three-headed dog that wounded her comrade. The wound is severe proof of her sacrifice. Suddenly, a powerful invisible force brutally throws the huge monster back. Kanan apologizes that her magic failed, but her friend gently soothes her. Sonya seems to come out of a trance. She does not remember at all what just happened, and her comrades look at her strange behavior in surprise. Far in the distance, they see the real enemy, impaled on many spikes, the work of their leader. The whole group froze, stunned by the sudden intervention. The main hero sits amid ruins and blood, his face gloomy. His slimy companion strains all its senses and uses detection skills to find its master. It finds him near the ruined arch, where a mighty lick guards. The slime calls out to its master in panic. The rest of the squad turns and sees that their leader is in mortal danger. He has been grabbed and entangled by a monster. Breaking through the bloody hell, his comrades notice the target ahead. They find their master, a monstrous mass of darkness, devours his hand. Kanan shouts his name, preparing to intervene immediately. Apologizing in advance for the pain, she prepares to attack. But the hero does not need outside help himself, unleashed destructive magic, and destroyed the parasite. The enemy mocks from afar, shouting, "How will you fight without an arm?" But his arm grows back instantly. Everyone is shocked, and he tells them not to worry. He instantly closes the distance and lunges at the enemy. But the fiery spear strikes and does nothing. The demon is invulnerable to both physical and magical attacks. Now he understood why his allies warned. This enemy cannot be defeated. Other members of his squad hold back and tell them that their physical strikes are useless. His main weapon turned out to be useless, so the main hero looks for another option. Suddenly he remembers the decisive thing. Light magic is the most powerful weapon against the ghost tribe. Filled with new determination, Kanan solemnly swears. She will no longer allow anyone important to her to die, and summons a blade of pure light. She stands ready for battle, and her new weapon shines dazzlingly. Her determination is absolute. She joins him on the front line, ready for the final confrontation. The ancient demon looks at them. It does not impress him. It notices the sudden appearance of this blinding light. Shoulder to shoulder, they prepare to unleash all their combined power. The demon declares that his fight is over. A destructive burst of energy erupts from Kanan's sword. The enemy's body evaporated, but the main hero feels this is not the end yet and warns the allies. The enemy will resurrect. He is on alert, ready to strike again at the very moment the creature recovers. He tensely surveys the ruined hall, waiting for his enemy to appear again. BZ confirms their worst fears. The enemy merged with the darkness and fled. Another ally appears and says she is unharmed and rejoices seeing them safe. Suddenly Kanan falls to the ground, and a storm of system messages bursts around. She calmly assures them that she has just exhausted light magic, consumes an incredible amount of energy. But then a new message stunned her into silence. She mastered the magic of space. The whole group is in shock. No one had ever seen such sudden mastery of a skill before. The main hero instantly understands how great the strategic value of this skill is. From the shadows, a fugitive enemy watches them. It, stunned, contemplates the impossible appearance of the light mage. Then it turns its gaze to another team member. The ancient creature seems to recognize the girl, and this hinted at some hidden connection. Later they sit down for a shared meal and regain their strength again. The hero peers into the remains of another enemy, a trembling mass of black fog. He explains, this is what the dark shaman they fought earlier turned into. Now he will have to decide what to do with the fallen, but still living creature. Fleeing into the desolate desert, the main character stands alone and quietly asks himself what to do next. The satellite confirms their new destination is set. They arrive at the capital of the Kingdom of Beastmen, a huge camp now hosting refugees from human lands. He announces with fire in his voice, their goal is to find the ancient dwarf named Dyke. Showing the battered sword, he asks hopefully if the dwarven smithy can repair it. The dwarf agreed to inspect the mysterious metal at night, but warned him, do not expect a miracle. The conversation shifts to the refugee crisis. Trade with human lands is interrupted, so supplies are critically low. To help, the hero decides to open a free kitchen for people left homeless. He and his allies immediately start distributing warm food to desperate refugees. The whole group watches as hungry people finally receive real, hearty food. He's about to ask Seidel to distribute food to all countries, but a little girl points out that he himself has eaten nothing. A simple suggestion of stew suddenly awakens a dark, painful memory. He recalls the time when Ayumu was supposed to enjoy the stew, but it spoiled before the first spoonful. After receiving a report from his skeletal subordinate, he learned that the giants and demons had retreated, but Israfil captured important figures from 13 countries. They say the enemy leader was locked in a huge temple inside the raid-crewed empire. The temple is sealed with an ancient barrier, and he grimly orders to kill anyone from the ancient races who appears. He notices that Ellie's plan is going smoothly, although Kanan's magic is noticeably strained. Kanan approached and confessed that she is worried about the demon lord and how heroes are summoned. She explains that the appearance of the demon lord was just a lie pretext for people to summon heroes and seize power over the world. He presses her, not letting go, demanding details. Why does she think that person is the demon lord? She firmly rejects this possibility. Suddenly below, under the cliff where he stands, a commotion arises. He remains calm, confident that survival skills gained in battles with mighty beasts will pull him out of any trouble. In the distance, a group of travelers is overwhelmed by an assault. Their defensive formation begins to collapse. He recognizes the attackers as ordinary bandits and calmly surveys the situation with his sword. As he descends, his passive resistance skills activate on their own, preparing him for the clash. A woman in the surrounded carriage sees his approach and desperately calls for help. One of the bandits naively believes her cries are addressed to him, completely unaware of the real threat. The thieves celebrate victory prematurely, their greed blinding them before the inevitable doom. In an instant, he is already among them. His blade gleams and a bandit falls, not even managing to react. The man Falshi's mind fails to comprehend the attacker's impossible speed. Inside the carriage, the noble lady is protected from the brutal scene unfolding outside. The hero stood ready, his icy gaze fixed on the remaining bandits. The battle ended in a moment. Only silence, and the bodies of the dead remained. His companion's sword broke the silence, asking what it is like to take a human life. He looks at his hands, lost in thought. The main hero is burdened by one simple thing: it was too easy. One of the surviving guards cautiously approaches and demands to know who he is. He turns away without a word, preparing to leave this place behind. The guards can only watch as their mysterious savior departs. They can only guess who this man is, who so terribly effectively dealt with the bandits. Finally, he reaches Allegria, a lively town, standing at the very edge of civilization. He walks through the crowded streets, a sharp contrast to the abandoned forest. A wave of relief washes over him. The life of an ordinary person can finally begin. His status screen updates and shows his new beginning, the unexpected cook class. The beastman tells a story, laughing at the sudden appearance of the hero. The main hero paid a considerable sum for food and noticed that the local food looks much better than the weapons. He walks through the market confidently. No blade compares to what he carries. Group of beasts froze in shock upon learning that he is familiar with dishes like rice and pasta. He was directed to the huge Settle General Store, a place where he might find exactly what he is looking for. A cheerful cat girl meets him at the door and immediately says that they sell rice here. She jokingly asks if he is in love, and he waved it off, saying he is just not used to talking. Another worker points to the collar on her neck and the truth comes out. She is a slave. The main hero is stunned by this revelation, while the slave continues to show him different types of rice. He recognized a familiar variety of rice, probably from his native world, and bought 10 sacks for 60,000 gold. The store owner said he would come personally to thank him for this huge order. With a wave of his hand, the hero made 10 sacks of rice disappear into his spacious item box, stunning everyone present. Impressed, Settle asks if he wants anything else from what is in the shop, from food to slaves. The mention of slaves makes the main hero freeze. At first, he does not want to, but the owner persuades him to at least take a look. He is surprised to learn that in this world, slaves have legal rights and protection, and often work as maids. But the owner insists that there is something else he must see, and leads him to the closed section. Behind the barred gate stand criminal slaves. They have been deprived of rights and forced to perform dangerous work. Settle fixed his gaze on a girl curled up in the corner behind. He explained that she, a sorceress, was framed for the murder of an aristocrat's child, simply because she was near the crime scene. The heroine doubts her guilt, and the owner admits that he does not know and believes she was just unlucky. The will showed that there was a personal connection between them. He had known her since birth. She was the daughter of his close friend. Her story about how she was unfairly accused deeply touched him, as if reflecting his own tragic past. The owner begged him to buy a girl named Hannah, but the main character hesitated. Settle falls into despair and cries out that if she is not bought immediately, she will surely be executed. Suddenly, their conversation is interrupted by a brazen nobleman. He bursts in and loudly declares that he intends to buy Cana. Aristocrat Dacum approaches the protagonist, looks closely, and notes that he might turn out to be a potential prophet of the slave mage. Ignoring the man's provocations, the main character simply turns around and, as if nothing happened, makes an unthinkable offer: 100 million gold for the girl. The astronomical sum immediately left both the owner and the nobleman speechless. Dacum protests fiercely, but Settle calmly tells him that another buyer has already made a deal. The hero grabs the enraged nobleman, his eyes full of icy fury, and warns him to back off. Guards rush to help. Dacum retreats with a final threat, and the hero is left alone with doubts whether it was worth intervening. He looks at the newly saved girl, and once again swears to destroy anyone who dares to oppose him. Settle looks with a quiet sense of victory, knowing that he trusted exactly the right person. The hero assures the owner that for the kindness shown to him, he will be repaid. Settle quietly praised his old friend, confident that the man called Kurakiri Death Sword would protect his daughter. He and the girl walk into the darkness, and ahead unfolds a new and dangerous path. The girl in chains silently sits in the doorway as the rain begins to fall. The main character, Sukuru, looks out the window at the downpour. There is almost no money left, and he realizes he will have to change his plans to leave the city. He glanced at the rescued girl and decided to let her rest until she could speak. Some time passed. He began to prepare a dish. While cooking, he notices the girl in the doorway. She is looking at him. He offers her the healing dish, gently encouraging her to eat as much as she wants. She carefully bites the first piece. To his horror, she eats on the floor like a wild beast. He immediately orders her to sit at the table and insists that she eat properly with utensils. The girl agrees and walks to the chair. Sakura looks at her, surprised by how elegant and refined she eats. He silently checks how she is doing. He hopes that this healing food will cure not only her bodily wounds, but also her mind. While she eats, tears roll down her face. She completely breaks down, sobbing and shouting Dalsum's name in her grief. Sukuru instantly understands that the healing food worked, breaking through her trauma. He recalls a glimpse of her once happy past and wonders what horrors she had to endure to become so broken. Faces of corrupt nobles flash before his eyes, and he curses them all. His expression hardens with icy determination. His living sword calls, he grabs it, sensing the approach of a threat. From the window, he senses 5 attackers approaching. Their presence is rough and noticeable. Outside in the dark alley, the killers fall one by one. The last attacker is cornered by a monstrous bear. The monster transforms again into Sukuru, who pierces the frightened man's gaze. He moves at dazzling speed, and as if without effort, easily disarms the opponent. Sukuru presses the blade to the man's throat, demanding to know who sent him. The killer makes a hopeless attempt to fight back. Behind, Sukuru's eyes ignite with incredible power. He presses the man, demanding an answer why they still pursue him, although they have already abandoned him. The killer reveals his true target, the red-haired slave walking with him. He confesses, they knew nothing about Sukuru, they were simply promised good money for this job. Sukuru quickly ends the interrogation. He perfectly understood what was going on. He suddenly realizes he can already guess who is behind this attack. They found themselves in a truly dangerous situation. It turned into an annoying and confusing problem. He returns to the room and sees that the girl has woken up and is staring intently at him. When the sun rises, she sits up in bed. It is the dawn of his future revenge. The system message confirms the hero's intuition skill has been replaced with a new ability, cleared. He lingers on the new clothes and decides that this is exactly what Hannah needs. She hasn't been able to wash properly for a long time. Watching the sleeping elf girl, he sighs with relief. Her nightmares have finally stopped. Then he decides to prepare something for her, although he has no idea what she will like. In the memory, the young girl is told that her father, a great mage, has died, but she is already welcomed into a new family. Little Kina sincerely expresses her deep gratitude to the woman Dalchasami. Dolph smiles and says that she is incredibly happy to work for such kind people. But the memory darkens, and she wonders how everything could have gone so wrong. The idyllic scene is shattered into pieces. Only chaos and ruins remain in its place. Just now, Dolce was carefully tending to the courtyard and gardens of the estate. In a moment, a frightened servant shouted about trouble. The Count's son was attacked. She came across the young Lord Dolce-sama, who was bleeding on the stone path. She rushed to him, begging him to hold on when she noticed he was still breathing. But her healing magic was powerless against such severe wounds. She couldn't even stop the bleeding. She pressed him to her chest, begging, "Don't die." Another nobleman appeared on the scene and was horrified by what he saw. He insistently demanded to know what had happened. And suddenly the guards appeared and accused Kana. She killed the young lord for money. The accuser sharply said that no one confirmed her story about cleaning. Then he took out a letter, supposedly from Kana, which was used to lure the victim into a trap. Kana screamed that it was not her, that she would never do such a thing. Now imprisoned, the guard shoved a bowl of thin porridge to Hannah and ordered her to eat. She looks at that disgusting mush and can hardly believe it is food. Another prisoner offers to take that food for herself if she refuses. The prisoner warns her, "If you don't eat, you will die because they will all soon be sold to the mines." The elf, now a slave herself, could not understand what she had done to deserve such a fate. She sinks into despair, convinced that none of this would have happened if Dolce-sama were still alive. While she hesitates about what to do, suddenly a voice sounds, "I will buy her." A hand reaches out, offering escape from her torment. This belongs to the main heroine, her new master. He calmly but firmly tells her to sit at the table and eat properly. She looks at the food and cannot remember the last time she ate something so real. Fear of disobeying the new master grips her. She must obey. She hesitantly raises the fork to her mouth and slowly begins to eat the dish in front of her. The protagonist, confident in his culinary skills, asks her what she thinks. She falls silent for a moment. Her hand trembles. A memory from the past resurfaces. In his last moments, Dolce-sama whispered to her that everything is fine now. He asked her, "Do not cry." Back in the present, a single tear rolled down the elf's cheek. The hero anxiously thought about his meager money, barely enough to pay for their lodging. Later he finds her awake in bed and offers her something to eat. And she immediately gets up, ready for another serving. He is shocked by her appetite. He has already prepared 6 full pots of food. But still, he is pleased to see that she looks healthier and more lively. When asked if it tastes good, she responds with a radiant, joyful smile. The hero sadly reflects that he is too soft-hearted, and it harms him. Out of the blue, the girl suddenly collapses in her seat. For a moment he panicked, until he realized that she had simply fallen asleep with food in her mouth. He just watches, completely bewildered by her strange behavior. The main hero serves a luxurious meal that he prepared himself. Kana happily eats breakfast, admiring his cooking. This time she praises his culinary skills, which he shyly accepts. Overwhelmed with joy, she seemed to feel that her past troubles never happened and accidentally spilled food on herself. She stubbornly wants to wash her clothes herself, and he only smiled and reassured her. Don't worry. With a simple movement, he uses his skill and instantly cleans her clothes. The stains completely disappear, and he hands her a new set of clothes that he made with his own hands. She asks where such clothing came from, and he only says, "Get dressed," quietly thinking about Japan. She has never heard of Japan and recalls the hero who was summoned to fight the demon kings. He politely introduces himself as Sarugi Sumeragi. She introduces herself as Kana and vows to be completely devoted to her new master. Sarugi asks her to show him the city, and she enthusiastically agrees. Kana shows various shops and landmarks as they walk through the lively streets. She continues the tour, excitedly showing the best places for food, rest, and literature. He frankly says that he uses the skill of disguise, admits. He has no money, so he is thinking about what business to start. He suggests becoming a cook. Their conversation suddenly breaks off. Two figures block their way. He immediately recognizes them. These are the men who were following him from the tavern. Kana's feeling is not hostility, but rather a kind of hint. It is better to find another way to their goal. She says that during imprisonment, she briefly met the shop owner, Settles. The shop worker notices them across the street and loudly calls the owner. Grateful for their help, Kina offers to do everything she can for them. The seller settled in more comfortably and with a heavy sigh explained why opening a new restaurant is so difficult. Strict rules and tough competition. Tsurugi interrupts him and insists that Settle try his food before rejecting the idea. He pulls out several types of onigiri, each soaked with powerful magic that temporarily enhances attributes. He passionately says that this food will become a real hit among soldiers and adventurers, and offers to join forces. Settle, still pondering this possibility, confirms Tsurugi's name. And at that very moment, two armed men approached. They recognized Tsurugi from the previous skirmish. They introduced themselves as vassals of Count Aba's and asked Tsurugi to accompany them. He turns to Kana and gives her a choice to go with him, despite the fact that it may awaken painful memories. She resolutely agrees to go, and they are accompanied to a luxurious estate. Inside, the maid looks at Kana with pure hatred and accuses her of murder. Tsurugi calmly takes Kana's hand, silently giving her support. They are led to the living room, where a nobleman and a young woman are waiting. The man introduced himself, Count Dengaro Aba's, and standing beside him was his daughter Altalia's. The count sincerely thanks Tsurugi for saving his daughter from bandits who attacked her carriage. Altels confirms that it was him, explaining that he sent his father's men to find him, promising a reward. The count offers an unheard-of something million gold coins and a family sword. Stunned by the generosity, Tsurugi learns that along with the reward comes a request for a favor. The count's face darkened, and he coldly asked Tsurugi to confirm whether Kana really killed his son Dolce. He admits he never believed in her guilt, suspecting that she was framed. He used his influence, commuted her death sentence to slavery, and entrusted her to the care of his friend for her safety. Kana froze in shock when she learned the truth hidden behind her verdict. The count loudly says, "Everyone in this room believes she is innocent." Then he officially addresses Tsurugi with a request to find the real killer of his son. A heavy silence fell as the count and Tsurugi stared intently at each other. The guild master, Mr. Sumeragi, cheerfully explains that he has completed all preparations for the sale of their new product. He reveals a profitable contract for 10,000 gold per month and notes that food that raises status is incredibly rare. But the protagonist says he no longer needs money. Instead, he hands the man a beautifully decorated short sword. Sumeragi falls to his knees and begs him to find the killer of his son. The hero coldly confirms the essence of the request. The deal is closed, 50,000 gold up front, and Kani's freedom will be safe as soon as the real culprit is found. Altilias is wildly happy with the news that Hannah can work with her again. She sincerely says how much she missed their shared moments. Acknowledging her loneliness, she listens as the main character solemnly accepts the dangerous task. Sumeragi, hearing from Commander Rotten about his power, fervently assures him of his faith. In his soul, the main character mocks the man's naivety, simply pretending to agree to this performance. And later, they talk about the danger that still looms. He understands that by staying, he will gain convenient access to the estate, and this coincides with the passionate desire of the fallen ally. Sumeragi begs him to save Kana, and he agrees. The guildmaster, with a slight smile, says that it seems he has even started to like saving people, and the main character immediately rejects this thought. He knows there are still people who believe in Kana's innocence. He gathers all his determination to reveal the truth about what happened. After this, she decisively intends to leave her here, in this city. When they arrived at the luxurious estate, it turned out Sumeragi is married and now with the princess. The servant enthusiastically describes his ideal family, a beautiful wife and a smart son. When they walk down the corridor, the blonde freezes in shock at their appearance. Recognizing the hero, the man shouts angrily, "What are you doing here?" He declares that this estate is not a place for people of low origin like them. The man lunged forward, consumed by blind rage. But he is met with a fierce blow that throws him into the air. Coughing up blood, the man stunnedly realized the attack had no effect at all. He shouts that he is over level 300 and cannot be wounded, ordering the guards to seize the uninvited guest. The guards instantly draw their weapons and accuse the hero of attacking the chief mage. Alti stepped between them by a few steps, trying to defuse the situation. And then suddenly, a commanding voice cut through the tension. Commander Rotten fiercely demands to know why his men are pointing blades at the honored guest. The wounded wizard Dokam plaintively complains that the main hero broke his bones. Dokam spins a pitiful tale, claiming he just wanted to protect Lord Sumeragi from an attack. He insists that he bravely blocked the main hero's strike with his fist. Rotten mockingly pushes away that absurd lie he knows. A real blow from Sumeragi would have completely destroyed his arm. He stunnedly recounts how he witnessed the terrible power of the main hero, who instantly dealt with an entire gang of bandits. The commander warns Dokam, everyone who challenged this man met a grim fate. Rotten waved off the subordinate's nonsense and sternly ordered him to be taken to the medical station. One of the other guards mutters that it is a shame to serve alongside such a person. The stress proved too strong. Kana suddenly fainted. The main heroine asks to be taken to a room so she can rest. Commander Rotten fervently apologizes for the incident, and Sumeragi reproachfully scolds him why apologize to a slave. The main hero notices the commander's sincerity, and Rotten vows to restore his honor. Rotten explained that he came to discuss the incident, and the main character sincerely promised to fully cooperate. The investigation of the Count's son's murder begins. The maid nervously walks back and forth along the empty corridor. A young woman named Hannah turns around, frozen in shock. The angry main character reviews the amusingly incomplete report. He considers it completely useless, just the result of someone's mistakes or corruption. He clearly understands this is a conspiracy arranged by someone with great power. He reflects on the motives and concludes that someone targeted the position or wealth of the Abba's family. And the question remains, why was Kano just a student made the scapegoat? He wants an ability that would simply reveal the guilty party and end this farce. Somewhere a worried servant informs the princess Kano refuses to eat. In a memory, a guard appears and accuses Hannah of the crime. Kanak confesses to the master a feeling of guilt. She believes that her weakness caused the boy's death. Her companion explains that if Kana had better mastered magic, she could have saved him. He firmly took her hand. His face was determined. He asks her one single question that turns her life upside down. Do you want to become strong? Through tears, she swears, more than anything she wants power. He instantly arranges mountains of magical food before her and orders her to eat everything to become stronger. While she eats, she is overwhelmed by shock. Suddenly, she mastered wind magic. He notes that despite the colossal magical energy she absorbed, she gained only 2 skills. He announces that her training and investigation will take place simultaneously. From his outstretched hand, a vortex of dark energy spins. He begins to recite a spell to summon a powerful spirit. From the shadow emerges a formidable destroyer of liches, and his incredible power is visible to everyone. The summoning drains a considerable portion of his magical power. Lick knelt down and asked for a name to seal their contract. The protagonist solemnly names his new base of servants. The magic of this creature overflows incredibly powerful, and its master has a task for it. The intelligent servant necromancer already knows what his master wants. Base disappears into the shadows and immediately begins the search. Exhausted after the summoning, the main hero collapses to the ground powerless. The princess enters the room, sensing a dangerous presence. She greets him and asks to be called Ali. Ali says she came specifically to invite them for tea, having heard about Kana's condition. She is surprised to learn that Kana has already eaten, while the main hero is enchantedly admiring the garden. Ali says that the garden is enchanted here, it is eternal spring. Kana hesitates to join, but the princess insists that she sit. Ali smiles as he recalls how he drank tea here with Dolce and Kana. Everyone begins to help themselves to tea. The main character raises the cup to his lips. He enthusiastically praises the delicious tea and quietly adds that it would be perfect if not for the poison. His evaluation skill flawlessly confirms deadly poison was applied to the rim of his cup. He directly approaches Ali, and decisively asks who is behind the attempt on his life. She admits the official report is useless, it lacks key testimonies. Ali whispered that she heard Dolce. He was talking to some man moments before he was killed. She exploded with anger. The knights refused to record her testimony, claiming it was impossible to hear anything through the door. He sees her lie and understands that her beastly ears would have heard every word. His piercing gaze studies her every move. The maids watch the confrontation tensely, not knowing what will happen next. At his call, the Lick base instantly emerges from the shadows. He gives a new order: investigate Princess Ellie's personal maid. The group anxiously pieces together the chronology of events, recalling that Dengaro has already left with his subordinates. Before the attack, they saw Dolce talking to someone in armor, and later Kanu was ambushed when she tried to reach him. Now Kana is screaming in despair over her weakness. She reveals a shocking truth. Thames was one of the warriors who destroyed the first demon lord. 4,000 years ago, in the midst of the battle of gods, humans summoned heroes to stop the demon lord and the Ketubal Pass. Another companion insists that demons cannot summon another lord because she personally burned their summoning sites. The hero decisively demands proof that no other insidious plan is hidden here. Antiaya looks worried, while the others seem confident in their assessment. It has been confirmed that the technology to summon the demon lord was lost when the flames of Kobaru incinerated their territory. The observer was stunned, not understanding how Kanan possesses light magic and ability supposedly available only to heroes. He concluded, her power is a direct consequence of Themis. The system window exploded with a message. The seal on Themis's blessing has been removed and ordinary skill has transformed into a power capable of creating a god. The gnome returned, carrying his verdict regarding the sword. He says it is impossible to repair. The blade is dead beyond their technique, and only the ancient tribe of phantoms could lift its curse. Having no other choice, Themis activates his unique skill banquet of the gods. Suddenly, the main hero is granted a new skill, the ability to change form. He immediately uses it, ordering the black mist of the sword to return to its original state, knowing he will have to suffer for it. He mentally prepares for the counterattack. A dazzling light flashed, and he remembered the terrible drawback of this ability, the loss of one of the senses for a whole day. An irresistible force rushed through him, causing a painful shock. Bubbles float around him, and consciousness slowly returns. He is sinking into the abyss, his mind racing wildly, trying to remember what happened. The last thing he remembered was how he tried to use the festival of the gods to restore the black fog. Suddenly he finds himself sitting on a path in the middle of a strange, sunlit forest. He looks down at his hands, and suddenly realizes with horror that these are not his hands. Before he could recover, several figures appeared, and one of them shouted "Sensei," asking him to advise what to do. To his horror, his own mouth moves and expresses agreement without any conscious thought. The words burst from his lips on their own, completely against his will. Inside he screams, not understanding what is happening, while the group just watches. Now he is trapped an unwanted observer in a foreign body and on foreign land. His father was a fencing instructor, a man deeply connected with knights. Following in his father's footsteps, he became an instructor while still young and trained the best in the kingdom. But as his students grew up and went on missions, they began to disappear one by one. Soon his students were framed, accused of rebellion, and he was forced to take full responsibility. Formally, it looked like a dismissal for a training trip. In reality, it was exile. He knew they would never betray the kingdom, so he blamed only himself, thinking he had taught them swordsmanship too poorly. He bore the burden of unbearable guilt, convinced that his own failure had led them to their graves. Now he has hit a limit and cannot rise above the 100th level. He agonizes over how to break through this barrier, constantly asking himself what important element he lacks. He went to a desolate, uninhabited place to face a terrifying monster face to face. Wounded and exhausted, he prepares for the end and accepts that this is the right place to die. Suddenly, a storm of shadow spikes flies straight at him. The attack hits the target. He is seriously wounded and coughing up blood. From the darkness emerges a powerful creature from the undead tribe. The creature offers him power and life, but only if he agrees to become its familiar. It demands that he swear eternal loyalty and worship it as his lord. Mortally wounded, he stubbornly refuses anyway. He swears his soul and sword have sworn to serve their country, and he will not allow them to be stained. The Lord of the Undead laughs. His words in uniform seem strangely familiar to him. It torments him with a vision, as if asking whether those were his lost students. The monster confesses, their pure souls were incredibly tasty, it devoured them. Screaming with pure rage, he suddenly realizes, before him is the killer of his student. The form of the Lord of the Undead begins to distort and writhe under an incredible surge of power. It mockingly laughs at his defiance and questions his chances. Essence neglected him. He is merely a human child, incapable of resisting it. Suddenly another voice sounds. Is it again some item from the drop? The main character appears reborn and points forward with cold, unwavering determination. Consciousness returns from the foggy void. The protagonist wakes up in bed, and the recent events seem like a distant dream. He is not sure was it all just a nightmare. When his vision finally cleared, he suddenly realized the punishment from the banquet of the gods ended after a whole day. He turns his head and freezes in surprise. A young woman lies in bed next to him. She is gripped by panic and, letting out a piercing scream, realizes his sight has returned. He asks what she is doing here, and she explains that she did not expect him to recover so quickly. A sudden rumble outside snapped him out of his thoughts. Sanya was thrown to the ground during training. The beast girl, out of pure irritation, strikes the ground again and again. He calmly told her that there was still a long way ahead. Suddenly, a man in a hood appears and calls the main character his kindred spirit. In the status window it flashes. He is Black Mist, the blade of the god of battles, level 600. The main character fell silent in shock. From another room, the girl also jumped in shock upon hearing the legendary name. He ironically notes that when a weapon becomes a person, it is usually a beautiful woman, but he is just himself. Suddenly he realized. This was his sword, returned to its original human form, and the dream was a vision of his blade's past. Black Mist confirms this, explaining that their skill allows sharing memories and thoughts. He admits that after Ian's as a sword, his human memories were erased, but seeing Shamanal's past, he lost his composure. The main character waved it off, focusing on his victory and the looming threat, the treacherous plan of an ancient enemy. Black Darkness decisively declared that training starts right now. He needs to become much stronger to exact revenge. Meanwhile, in a luxurious mansion, a desperate man found himself trapped. His calls to the subordinate echoed through the empty corridors. He panics at his desk when he realizes he cannot contact other countries, and none of his people are returning. He fears for the missing subordinates, but knows that leaving the safe zone of the barrier is a death sentence. The man curses Tsukuru, convinced that all his troubles began the moment he met that boy. He is deeply troubled by the strange presence of Shamanal and the appearance of a new kind of ancient demons destroying his territory. Without reports and without soldiers, he feels completely powerless and cannot look into the eyes of the one he must answer to. He struck with his fist with all his might, overwhelmed by rage and despair. Two swordsmen clashed in a furious exchange of blows. In the neighboring estate, a company prepares dinner and does not take their eyes off the duel. Their blades met lightning fast, with dazzling speed a testament to their refined skill. Sparks fly, the attack does not cease for a moment. The warriors locked weapons, equal forces, a stalemate. The main character is confused. Although his level is higher, their abilities are the same, as if he is fighting his own reflection. He catches himself thinking, does the conscious sword from the black fog reflect his own situation? His weapon reproaches him for weak technique, demanding that he finally focus on the battle. The intense training is suddenly interrupted by a shout. Food is ready. The hero goes mad with happiness and exclaims that eating is the greatest joy he was deprived of when he was a sword. Before them spread a luxurious banquet on the table, were dishes exactly repeating those from his native world. His comrades rush to the dishes with appetite and are already demanding seconds. He looks closely at his company and notices one of them cunningly did not touch his onions. The scene switches to a military council, where they discuss how this lousy old man is losing control. His own commanders no longer obey him. His ally revealed his plan. They are going to officially declare the end of human supremacy. Lick explains his plan to unite other races by setting an example for the Raider Empire. The woman firmly says, his true goal is revenge, not to start a war between great powers. She whispers to him that the organizers of the challenge have already disappeared, leaving only their main target. He just smirks, agreeing with her concise assessment of the situation. The Elven Queen Antier is asked to become a mediator of peace, but she is not at all thrilled by this prospect. She explains that if the current representative of the ancient type of humans dies, another will simply be born in his place, and she will have to clean up this chaos. Just as they have a duty to their people, she has sworn to protect her own. The main hero finally proposes a plan: to use Kanan's space-time magic, isolate the ancient type, and subjugate the entire human tribe. Although they admit that the word control has bad connotations, they still believe that humanity can be led to a better future. One of his companions explodes with rage and loudly declares that any insult to her master cannot be forgiven, no matter who said it. The Elven Queen seemed to sense the mood in the room from the fierce loyalty that was shown. Sighing, Auntie A agreed to cooperate. She said there was no other choice if it meant protecting her people. Lick sounds the alarm. Other summoned heroes are now conspiring and preparing to invade the Raid Crud Empire themselves. They realize that this could complicate matters. The heroes' actions might alert their main target. One of the women asks, do they mean Kuju and others? Then she asks with interest what they are doing now. A warrior bursts in, loudly announcing his arrival, and another hero shouts to his comrade, retreat. A man in glasses desperately fights an insurmountable force. A sudden powerful explosion erupts and throws him into the air. When the enemy is defeated, the heroes celebrate the victory. But the man notices that his level has sharply risen to 170 and is still climbing. His companion calls this phenomenon a limit break, a power that only true heroes have. Intoxicated by victory, the summoned heroes proclaim the kingdom their territory, their minds corrupted by the new power. After some time, Kyujo coldly brushes off the question of when they will invade the next empire. The woman in glasses is alone, trembling, trying to convince herself that she made the right choice. A piercing scream suddenly breaks the silence and shocks the gathered students. A girl with dark hair appears in the doorway, and everyone recognizes her Ikenos, whom they thought was missing. And then she asks a chilling question. Can those who died with regret ever truly find peace? Kyujo simply mocks her dramatic return. One of the heroes insists that their survival is due to his foresight, but Ikenos categorically rejects this version of events. Kyujo angrily snaps that they almost died, and only two saved them, Miki and Tsukuru. He admits she is right, but instantly shifts the conversation, accusing her of the suffering now endured by the people of the kingdom. Everyone reproaches him in turn, questioning his right to speak of justice when in real battle he hid behind others' backs. Behind her appears a huge skeletal ghost, its presence silently challenging Kyujo's beliefs. At that very moment, the guard shouted that the hostages have been freed and are already being helped. The former hero recoiled, gripped by horror at the sight of the deadly phantom. A figure in a cloak steps forward, silences the frightened student, and authoritatively demands his attention. He stands before them and offers three options: to die here where they stand, to return to their native world, or to stay and live. The student immediately panics and begs to be sent home, desperately trying to escape the endless war. The man in the cloak extends an offer to those who still want to leave. Kyujo only smirks boldly and says he will stay in this world. Here he has more freedom. The main character simply tells him, do everything you can. Then he places his hand on Kyujo's shoulder, thereby activating an unknown skill. In a moment, Kyujo and others who decided to stay lose their powers and remain only 6th-level peasants. The main character and his companions turn and leave, leaving behind the powerless heroes. Kyujo desperately calls Ikenos and pleadingly offers information about a comrade in exchange for help. He claims he saw a demon kidnap their friend. He tries to manipulate her, slyly asking the saint if she really wants to abandon her savior. Ikino calmly tells him not to worry, she has other ways to find him. She looks him in the eyes and says that she is not a saint, but an ordinary person just like him. She asks him to keep their conversation secret from others. Later, the main hero stands next to the priestess and informs her that the former heroes have already been dealt with. He says grimly that they stood in the way of his plans and apologizes for this unexpected detour. He wonders whether his actions will bring peace to the dead, but admits that he is actually driven by his own revenge. The temple priestess smiles gently and assures him, you have my full support in these quests. He is captive along with his comrades. Their weapons have been taken away, and it seems that all hope for escape has faded. He is the only one who can still fight, resorting to berserk mode, and now doubts whether he can protect them alone. A sudden sound tears him from his thoughts. Raising his eyes from the pit, he sees a mighty undead creature looming over the bars of his cell. Meanwhile, in the city, his comrades watch in horror as one of them disappears, leaving behind only a dark, charred trace. Meanwhile, elsewhere at a war council, there is a heated discussion about the escalation of the conflict between the tribes of giants and demons. The main hero, feeling relieved, reports that negotiations with the beast folk and dwarves were successful, although reluctant. A political storm rages in the capital around the achievements of Israfel. The orator proclaimed that 14 countries are uniting to put an end to the policy of human supremacy of the Raid Crud Empire. The crowd roars for justice, demanding that the leader Thames be held accountable for the devastation. This entire movement is presented as a response to the tragedy caused by the War of the Old Regime, a war born from the belief in its own superiority. In the royal palace, advisors anxiously warn the emperor, Themis is in great danger. Others insist that Themis is still recovering from injuries and must not be disturbed. One of the emperor's ministers looks at him suspiciously and asks directly, "Who are you?" Before he could finish his accusation, he is mercilessly knocked down from behind. The figure on the throne spoke coldly. It's a pity they had to learn the truth. A frightened guard runs into the inner chamber and shouts that the dead have seized the emperor's body and are replacing the imperial guard. The knights at the door assure him that no one will get past them. Suddenly, the messenger falls dead. The guards reveal that they actually serve the new lord. Inside, the old Themis feels the chaos around and desperately clutches a pouch. He begs for strength as a dark figure of a man appears in the doorway. The majestic doors swung open, and the main hero stepped into the opening, surrounded by his mighty companions. Stepping over the fallen guards, he announces his return. After a long and difficult journey, he will no longer allow his target to escape again. He strides forward with icy determination, vowing to kill the old man here and now. In the great hall, it was eerily quiet, and the hero realized that all the key people had been replaced by doubles, so his true goal became unreachable. Suddenly, memories flash rapidly in his mind about the beginning of everything, the day of the hero's summoning. He clearly remembers the faces of the nobles who were present at the ritual. Since he found himself in this world, his dignity and heart were trampled again and again. But now all that suffering was finally coming to an end. One of his comrades asks if this is really the end, the world ruled by humanity and left to itself. The comrades look at him with anxiety, feeling the weight of his intentions. He says outright that he is not some righteous hero to solve the world's problems. His only goal is revenge, and a distant explosion announced the start of his plan. Meanwhile, the Elven Queen orders her people to get rid of all summoning devices and erase all records. One of the elves jumped from the sudden explosion while snooping in the archives. Across the city, people raise their heads and look at the columns of smoke and tongues of flame rising from the royal quarter. The destruction is immense. The tower is crumbling under the pressure of the attack. Inside the magically protected room, an old man listens intently, trying to understand where the noise is coming from. A sudden knock on the door makes him jump. He sharply ordered the person to enter and tell in detail what is happening outside. The door opens, and there stands a terrible living creature, its flesh half rot. The old man screams in horror, recognizing the monster standing before him. The undead lunged forward with dazzling speed, claws clenched and ready to strike. Instantly, the man was torn to pieces. As soon as the runny nose disappears, the true target realizes an invader has broken into his domain. He is gripped by panic. His old species barrier should be impenetrable to all except another like him. An overwhelming presence looms over him, and a voice demands that he make the next move. Old Themis falls to his knees, begs, and swears to obediently carry out any order. From afar, the main hero laughs with a contemptuous smile at how easily his enemy panics over the death of just one double. There in his palm, dark energy thickens. He tells the frightened old man that this is only the beginning. Thames just stared back, his face a true mask of horror. An hour earlier, the main character gave her a set of custom high-class equipment specially made to protect her. He reminded her of her promise to do whatever it takes to become stronger. Their training place was supposed to be the infamous, extremely dangerous Golfa Forest. Without saying a word, he picked her up and rushed toward their goal. They find themselves in dangerous thickets, and Kana is still confused after the sudden rapid journey. She is confused, unable to hit any of the forest creatures. A huge beast loomed over her, and she froze with horror, completely confused. He coldly tells her that this creature of level 200 is just a field mouse, and then asks if she really wants to gain power. And so the initial trial ended. Flashback, the main hero faces a powerful enemy, and Dolce L.A. lies wounded on the ground. The girl was seriously wounded, her life slowly fading. Kana could only watch in horror as the tragedy unfolded. He unleashed a devastating barrage of fiery spears. The spell hit precisely and completely destroyed its target. But suddenly, a storm of level-up notifications falls upon Kana. She cannot believe her eyes. She defeated such a powerful monster. The main hero smiles and says he left him with only one life point. He tells her that it was just a trial, their real training is only beginning. As if on command, he summons healing items, anticipating the damage that is about to fall on her. A pure horror appeared on her face. A scream from the effort echoed through the forest. Later, he carries the unconscious Kana through the city streets. He notices her exhaustion after a whole day of running around and checks if her condition has improved. Suddenly, some man called out to him. The captain of the guard asks about Kana's condition, and the main character explains that she is just sleeping after exhausting training in a nearby dungeon. The captain is pleased to hear that she is persistently fighting to overcome her former weakness. He does not back down, insists on treating the main character at his favorite establishment. The main character agrees, and the captain warns him. Beware of the vagrants from the slums. They share a meal together in a local tavern. The captain loudly boasts about his alcohol endurance. His showy bravery crumbles, he breaks down, blaming himself for Dalit's death and regrets not being there to protect her. The hero sharply interrupts him and says that he is wrong. The captain explains that although many knights went with Dengaro, a few truly talented magical knights remained at the estate. This only deepens the mystery. How could Dolce himself be lured to the courtyard? The captain, worried about his safety, suggests escorting him back to the estate. As they approach, in the darkness a bone lick awaits them and says in a cold voice that he has long awaited his master. The skeletal figure greeted them as if already expecting their arrival. He insisted that the main character see with his own eyes what he had discovered. The room around them changed, becoming a virtual space, woven from the skeleton's own memories. Suddenly, an image of a woman appeared on the screen. It was Dockham's wife. This space was an exact copy of Dockham's office, down to the smallest details. The entity revealed a secret. He found exactly what the hero was looking for. The drawer suddenly slid out by itself, revealing a stack of documents before me. He picked up a letter addressed to Dockham from some unknown person named Eerie Fusel. He broke the seal and his comrade watched, full of anxiety. The letter was about getting rid of the cunning little fox in exchange for the promise of a barony. His companion understood that the letter referred to Dolce, because the skeleton noticed how easily the necessary information could be obtained. Then the main character took out a real, sealed letter from his belongings. She froze, stunned, confusedly wondering if Dockham knew the truth, but he was arrested before he could do anything. He gently reassured her. It was an old trick the Baron planted bait to catch a subordinate. He asked Kenna with interest if she knew Count Ira Fudzo, who had connections with the Abba's family. When he felt he lacked information, the hero decided to call his operative. The shadow suddenly appeared and swore to give its absolute obedience to its master. Kenna looked on in complete disbelief, barely managing to grasp the reality of the situation. A terrible thought flashed through his mind. Ali was also being hunted and he might already be poisoned. He was about to leave, strictly ordering Kenna to eat and under no circumstances open the door to anyone. He threw on the hermit's cloak an item that concealed his presence from lower-level people. When dawn broke, he slipped out through the window and disappeared into the city. He watched the knights below who were training. Their movements were clumsy and chaotic. Their training resembled a casual sports club more than strict military preparation. He overheard several men complaining about their captain's harsh methods. Another captain enthusiastically said that the beast folk race was the best. Goliath was a genius, and JD was a true source of inspiration. Rumors rumbled around Captain Rot. He had recently been reprimanded by Dockham. They whispered that after the previous leader's death, Dockham took power into his own hands and promoted his supporters. One of the knights instantly silenced the others, fearing that Dockham's servants were eavesdropping. Walking through the corridors, he overheard a bunch of everyday chatter about the Adventurers Guild. As he continued to observe, it became clear to him Dockham had much more influence than he thought. Then he noticed a young fox boy, whom he recognized as Dola. The boy Cloud looked up and seemed to recognize him too. The boy gasped in shock and looked past the main character. The woman greeted him warmly, and the boy asked who this stranger was. She introduced herself as Alicia, the wife of Captain Rot, and the boy as their son Cloud. The boy politely introduced himself, and his mother explained that he came to cheer them up after Dolce's death. The main character considered the situation, and a silent tension filled the air. Alicia, as if by pure chance, revealed that she was the niece of Count Eerie Fusel, thus confirming his suspicions. A knock sounded from the next room. They were invited to breakfast along with him and his companions. A voice behind the door politely asked if he would join them. The group enters the restaurant, a well-known meeting place of the Rotten family, and their servant Camo. The bony servant asks the main character if something is bothering him, but he just waved it off. The woman with fox ears explains that the Loughton family, a branch of the Abba's clan, have been knights for generations. The main character carefully examines the political landscape, trying on Lawton and Cloud for the role of possible heirs to the Dengaro family. While others argue about complicated family ties, the young warrior blushes and confusedly realizes what this might mean for him. The woman teases the boy about the upcoming marriage. He blushes and becomes shy, while the main character only silently observes. The next morning, the head of the house meets them at a lavishly set breakfast table. The main character immediately asks where Kana is and learns that she did not open the door. He drives away the maid and thinks to himself that Kana is too weak to be left alone and agrees that she needs to be removed. Using telepathy, he decides to pour a drink for the chambermaid named Sumeragi and slip a non-toxic poison into it. Sumeragi takes the poisoned drink, unaware of what is in it. Others whispered about whether it was safe to leave Connor alone, but the main character dismissed their concerns. The head of the house sharply turned to Shin and demanded a report on the progress of the investigation. The noblewoman announced that she was handing over the reinvestigation of Dolce's murder to Sumeragi. She sighed deeply with relief. The princess and the estate were unharmed. The head of the family whispered that he cannot tell anything. The investigation is still ongoing. The boy repeats these words like a parrot and insists that he will say no more now. At this time, a noble lady addresses Lord Sumeragi directly. She asks if she can somehow help with the investigation of Dolce's murder. The young warrior swears that protecting the Abba's family is the meaning of his entire life, and for this he trains tirelessly. He speaks of his deep admiration for Dolce and Alice, and of his burning desire to avenge the killer. Fearing that Altarius will be the next target, he decides to protect her, though he feels weak himself. The main hero confirms this, and tells the boy that he must stay close to Altarius and guard her. The boy swears to protect her just as his father once swore. Meanwhile, Connor is sound asleep in her bed. A splash of water magic suddenly roused her from sleep. A noisy new ally runs up to the hero and impatiently wants to join. Women were chatting about Kanna's new combat suit. It is truly effective, but a bit too revealing. Kanna was taken away, leaving the main hero alone with his plans. He approached an old acquaintance and quietly informed him that he was going on an investigation alone and leaving Hannah under his care. He and his skeletal servant step into a gloomy, desolate place. The servant recognizes 3 human bones and suggests that they might belong to Dolce's killer. The main hero assumes that this might be a dump where things are thrown away to erase traces of a crime committed elsewhere. Having no other clues, the servant is going to dispose of the remains. Returning to the city, Kanna tries on an elegant new dress. The seller exclaims that the main hero spent 1,000,000 gold coins on this outfit. Overflowing with happiness, Kanna exclaimed that this dress is her treasure, which she will keep for special occasions. The main hero silently watches from the street. Suddenly, a strange man appeared, grabbed Kina and mistook her for some Sumeragi. The attacker suddenly lunges forward. His intentions are clearly hostile. He recognizes the main character as a true Sumeragi, and not hiding his surprise, asks why he is with a slave. Drawing his blade, the man declared that their lives were doomed, but the main character ordered Kano to retreat. Kano exploded with rage. She was furious that the man had ruined a precious gift from her master. The main character held his breath and prepared for a strike, stunned by the sudden intervention. The hereditary swordsman beast swiftly intercepts the attack. The assassin froze in wild fury at the new opponents. From the rooftops, the mage unleashes a barrage of fiery spears crashing down on the man. Another ally summons tree magic roots grow from the ground, entwining and trapping the target. The fallen assassin is tied up and powerless, while the group interrogates him why he was chosen as the target. A skeletal servant appeared and explained that the attack was arranged to stop their investigation and silence Hannah. Holding the letter, the main character announces, "The final evidence has been obtained. It's time to return to the manor." Hannah looks, and an unwavering determination appears on her face. Having gathered all the evidence, the main hero decided to return to the Abba's family residence. Inside, the head of the house explodes with rage and does not believe it upon learning that the real culprit has been found. When the main hero's team enters, the guard tries to stop them, but they effortlessly push him aside and continue. The hero mocks the man he previously defeated, and that man's face contorts into a mask of fury. Princess Sumeragi addressed the gathered nobles with a grim expression. The lord, the princess, and the captains of the 3 knight squads all are already here. When everyone gathered, the hero tensely prepares to reveal the truth he discovered. The ruler, thirsty for answers, vows to listen, and the princess assures him he will not regret it. The main hero decisively ordered the guards to lock the room and let no one in so that no one would interfere. Then he summons a terrible skeletal, like the dark energy of the creature fills the chamber. The knights instantly became alert, shocked by the sudden appearance. The lord loudly raises the alarm, and he sees the monstrous creature looming over them. The captain shouted for everyone to retreat. He sensed great danger. The presence of the lick is palpable, a cold aura of death that unsettles even experienced warriors. The bony creature calls itself Baze, a subordinate acting on the orders of its master. It raises its hand, preparing to perform a forbidden ritual. With a wave of spiritual energy, the lick summons a spirit, and before their eyes appears the ghostly figure of Dulce. The onlookers froze in silence, asking themselves, is this really the soul of the dead boy? The princess notices that this ghost is so ethereal and immaterial that the living cannot touch it. To make sure who was before her, She asked the spirit a question only the real Dulce would know. The spirit answered correctly, identified himself, and the boy's father froze without words. The spirit Dulce, through tears, asks forgiveness from his father and sister for leaving them so early. He speaks of his regret and sorrow, lamenting that he could not protect them. The main hero abruptly interrupts the touching meeting and asks the grieving lord if he may continue. He turns to the spirit of Dolce and asks the most important question: was Canna his killer? The spirit answered instantly and unequivocally, she is not. He confessed that Kaina tried to save him even before he was attacked by 3 unknown men. The captain of the knights protests, but the lord silences him and demands to hear the whole story. The main hero confirms those 3 attackers were from the slums. The lord angrily says that those men fled the city long ago. With a calm tone, the hero refutes his statement. He shows the 3 killers now undead puppets under his control, and the whole room froze in shock. The knights recognize one of them as a key witness who testified against Kana. Overcome with rage, the lord rushed forward to deal with his son's killers. The hero stops him, explaining that those men are already dead and attacking them is pointless. His rage has not yet subsided, but the lord still agrees to move forward to find the one who planned all this. The main character confirms that there are others involved and prepares to expose the real culprit. He asks the spirit Dolce, who lured him beyond the city walls that day. Then he orders his 3 undead servants to name the one who gave them orders. He gives the final command show who is responsible for this. 4 ghostly, undead hands rose in unison, their fingers threateningly aimed at one target. All point directly at one of the knight captains, and he turns out to be the one who planned everything. The accused Captain Gibbon stares in pure, genuine horror. The main character sharply demands to know who ordered Dolce's murder. He orders the captured men to point a finger at the organizer if he is in the room. All fingers point to one guard, Jabin. He immediately denies the accusation and insists it is a setup. He desperately pleads that he is innocent, insisting it is just a misunderstanding. But even before he manages to explain, another man lunges forward and knocks the Jiban to the ground without any warning. The attacker smashes Jiban's head against the floor so that he definitely cannot break free. When Jiban is pinned down, he confesses that he was only following orders. Suddenly, a blade pierces his chest. He falls silent forever. The noble Dokkum interrogates the attacker, who insists that he simply pushed the Jiban down. He firmly says that he just missed when trying to detain the alleged killer. Dokkum becomes angry, showing that he was already controlling the Jiban with a spell. He mockingly laughs at his own foolishness and says that he could have simply stopped the spell. Then he summons a skeletal creature and explains that now Jiban's soul can be interrogated. The soul cannot lie. He calmly thanks Dokkum for his help in this matter. The hero leaves the last word to the count. He can interrogate the spirit or simply drop the case. Their gazes clashed in a tense confrontation. The count asks the soul of Jiban who gave the order, and the spirit names his master Dacham. Exposed, Dokkum grabbed the servant Anna and confessed that he did it because of a promise of promotion. He threatens to kill the hostage if anyone takes another step. The hero stood unmoved, bitterly asking, is the life of one servant really worth becoming a human shield? The princess pleadingly asks him to stop, but Dokkum declares that sacrificing a servant is a trifle for the sake of a nobleman's ambitions. Anna calms her lady, do not worry, but the princess stubbornly refuses to leave her. Dokkum roughly grabbed the servant and decisively ordered her to be silent. He invents another lie, says that Anna threatened him and that she is actually the real criminal. The monster can make the warriors roar so that their lord executes the traitor. One of the guards, Goliath, rushes inside, cuts off Dakam's hand, and frees Anna amid splashes of blood. Goliath clutches his severe wound and realizes his fate is decided. Dokkum shouts at the maid, demands help, and threatens her with punishment for disobedience. The lord of the beast folk loomed over the fallen nobleman, his blade at the ready. He confesses that he killed Jabin because he was gripped by horror at the thought of being framed for the murder. Dokkum desperately denies everything, insisting that they are all being manipulated by the main hero. But the main hero firmly declared, there is no point in the court if no one believes the merchant's words. A paper airplane, one of the hero's creations, gently descends and lands next to the princess, who notices an inscription on it. A letter to Dokkum, a sincere greeting for eliminating the killers. The letter contained a promise to make him a barren, undeniable proof of the conspiracy. The lord of the beast folk understands this letter must be from Count Arafusel. Standing before the evidence, Dokkum finally admits his guilt. The main hero reveals the truth completely. Count Fusel was the mastermind of the conspiracy and ordered Dokkum to kill Dolce. The plan was simple. If everything failed, blame Jiban, and the other part of the plan was entrusted to someone else. In the second phase, everything will be arranged like this. A robbery will be staged, during which another nobleman will be killed, and then a member of the Fusel family will take his place. The group pondered who from the Fuso family could have pulled off such a scheme. The letter reveals the last conspirator. It is addressed to the dear niece of the Count, Alicia. The rotten warrior froze in shock when he realized that Alicia Cloud was behind the conspiracy. A young boy named Cloud refuses the fate of the Count instead. He dreams of becoming a knight to protect his family. Suddenly, a man named Rotten appeared before the gloomy scene and sharply demanded, "What is happening here?" Then Cloud's mother, Alicia, froze in horror. She understands that the terrible situation is real. Her husband burst through the door, his face twisted in pain and gaunt. A young noblewoman watches from afar as chaos unfolds around her. The summoned hero Altaris and his team silently observe the tense confrontation. In the garden, Cloud loudly calls for his father. At night, Rotten directs his cold gaze at his wife and child. Alicia sees in horror that her husband is involved, and he grimly confirms her suspicions. He grimly declared that since it was the night of the Abba's family, he must execute her right there. But before his blade could strike, young Cloud boldly parries the attack. The boy is no match for his father. The latter knocks him down with one cruel blow. Alicia embraces her bloodied son and, in despair, asks if her husband is sane. Rotten orders her to step back, but Cloud defiantly says, "The knight duty is to protect the weak." The princess decisively commands Rotten, "Stop this madness immediately." Under the pressure of conflict, the resolve of the knight finally cracks. He lowers his sword and apologizes to his wounded son. He kneels at his feet and lays his weapon on the ground. He solemnly addresses his lord and offers a deep apology for his failure. He admits that he could not bring himself to kill his wife. To atone for his guilt, he presses the blade to himself, a shocking gesture. He swears that he will pay for his failure with his own life. Cloud howled in despair, watching his father fall. While the boy holds his dying father, the guards panic and call the healer. Altaris and his companion exchanged a grim, silent glance. Kaina rushed forward, ignoring the warning that her skills were insufficient. She channels her immense magical energy, preparing to cast a powerful spell. Bright light explodes as she releases another healing spell. The dazzling glow of high-level magic stuns the spectators. They can only freeze in awe, watching the incredible display of power. The healing succeeded. Rotten is unconscious, but his life was saved. Cloud sobs with relief as his mother embraces him. The master exposes the true organizer Alicia's uncle planned Dolce's murder. Alicia confesses that she was forced to get involved in this conspiracy after she learned about Dolce's death. The Lord, in fury, orders his general to prepare the armies for battle, but Dolce himself appears and steps forward, standing in the way of the order. The Lord froze in surprise. Why did this boy dare to stop him? Dolce fervently pleads to stop the war, resolutely refusing to allow people to suffer instead of him. He looks at Altaris, confirming that this was the only way to save Hannah and expose the true villain. The boy turns and sincerely thanks Kana. He tells the healer, who is crying, her efforts saved lives, so let her smile. The company feels a bittersweet calm for a moment. Dolce says he is glad because he had the chance to say goodbye properly. His last request is that the Lord continues to protect the city and its people. The nobleman pondered the consequences. The Messiah is dead, Connor is free, and Abba's influence is weakened. At first, standing by the window, he again tells himself that his mission was never a choice. He decides to defeat the old man and the god who rules over this world. Meanwhile, Kenny is told that she is now free and that their paths must part. She quietly accepts her freedom. The head of the house gives her a new set of clothes, a gift for her return. Kana accepts the improved clothes and still calls the main hero her master. The nobleman solemnly thanks him for the invaluable help in their conflict. The main hero reports, Dockham and his accomplices are captured. This undermined the power of the Abba's family. The nobleman promises to inform the royal family about the evil deeds of abuse, but says that one complaint is not enough. The hero persistently asks him to gather even more evidence, saying that compromising rumors about their enemy are already spreading. The deal is made if the hero continues to serve. He is promised a reward of 30 million gold coins. The nobleman agrees. Breathing a sigh of relief, he will not have to risk his own troops in a direct war. Then the protagonist pulls out a stack of documents, irrefutable proof of the crimes of Eric Fusel. Evidence collected, handwriting confirmed. He considers the request officially fulfilled. The nobleman assures him that Kana's room has been preserved for her if she ever wants to return. Arteris warmly welcomes Kina, gladly greets her return. After she was offered something to drink, she was told she needs to sign papers to make her return to the family official. Arteris leads her to the guest room so she can see her father. But standing before them, Kana suddenly hesitates. She resolutely says that she wants to continue to be by her master's side and begs to be made his slave again. Moreover, she says she sees deep loneliness in his eyes, the same one she knows all too well from her past pain. Kana directly begs him, "Take me with you on this journey." He warns her that his path is dangerous, and the plans are dreadful, but she does not back down. She swears to give her life for his cause, ready to challenge the world and even God himself to stay by his side. Moved by her determination, Arcturus defends Kana's choice, and her father speaks with proud surprise about her incredible devotion. Arcturus celebrates his choice with sincere, warm embraces. The main hero notices that this will create a new problem. At that very moment, a man with a beastman in chains enters the room and explains that she was supposed to replace Kana. The hero freezes. It turns out that the very same girl recently tried to kill him. The noble lord calmly said that he knows about the circumstances. He says that she herself was a victim. She was forced into it because Dockham took her sister hostage. As punishment, they decided to give her to the very man she tried to kill. Arcturus asks Kana for her opinion, pointing out that the girl had no other choice. While Hannah hesitates, the main hero coldly refuses and offers an even harsher punishment for the one who tried to kill. Kana immediately objects, sympathizes with the girl's helplessness, and blames their common enemy for this tragedy. Arcturus decisively says, if he does not take the girl, she will buy her instead. He feels responsible. The main hero finally yields and allows the killer to follow him, but under one strict condition. She will obey his orders without any questions. She quietly agrees to his terms. The girl swears to give her life for the fulfillment of his order. His new companions are nearby. The team has formed. The noble lord nervously reminds him of the law, and the hero smiles and assures that it is just for show. He firmly told them to prepare for departure. There is still so much work ahead. The status window pops up and on it is Anna, Queen of Fights, level 28. Dengaro asks Sumeragi for a favor for the sake of his soldiers. He explains that their fighting spirit is broken and asks Sumeragi to train them. Somewhere else, a little boy brings food to his father's closed door and begs him to return. He waits silently. There is no answer. Gaining courage, the boy opens the door. He froze in shock. Before him stood Sumeragi and his companions. The hero asks about a man nicknamed Rotten, and the boy frankly says that his father is upstairs. Sumeragi did not waste time. With one powerful kick, she tore the door off its hinges. He lunged at Rotten and said straight to his eyes that Dengar wants him to train the knights. Sumeragi grabs the disgraced captain and angrily demands that he resign from his position. The boy runs in, loudly calling for his father. He tries to ease the tension, assuring his father that everything is fine. The princess defends her master and begs Rotten to trust him. From below came the desperate echo of a soldier begging his captain to return. Without his leadership, they seemed completely lost. But Rotten froze from his past failures. He feels unworthy to lead others. His comrade persistently asks Sumeragi to intervene. The hero feels it inside. He is boiling with anger that he has to deal with this when he himself must fight for his life. He suggests Rotten can learn his skills and then teach others. Sumeragi announces that training starts right now, and they head to the Forest of Bullets. The scene shifts to the capital of the kingdom of Luca Sandal. A sudden cry of pain pierced the air. There, the broken and exhausted hero is treated and told that in such a state he will never defeat the demon lord. He explodes with anger, tired of being forced to fight in a world foreign to him. The healer Suzanen feels powerless. She thinks she can only patch up wounds. She glances at Tsukuru. He is training alone again. Her friend teases her about that sympathy for the boy, and she stubbornly insists that he is just a childhood friend. The friend smiled and assured her, with my S-level luck I'll manage. She quietly agrees. In the forest, Sumeragi tells Hannah that the soldiers will be fine, thanks to the recovery items he left. Hannah asks to join the training, but he firmly refuses their next mission, to save her sister. Finally, they arrived at the Fusilla estate, exactly where she is held captive. Sumeragi resolutely repeats, the life of the hostage is above all. Hannah thanks her master with all her heart. Using their skills, the squad becomes invisible to the human eye and quietly slips past all the patrols. They silently sneaked into Garrosh's estate. The guards didn't even suspect. The interior turned out to be even more tasteless than they imagined. It was decorated with a golden statue of the owner. A familiar skeleton appears and informs the group that the target Sanya is in the underground chamber. The undead, with a sinister smile, boasts, no wall will stop her steps. They reach the chamber, but the skeleton has no keys. Sumeragi prepares to use his incredible strength to break the lock, and Hannah rushes to her wounded sister. He agrees she must be taken out of here immediately. Hannah loudly calls her sister's name. She embraces the unconscious body of her brother or sister, while Sumeragi and others only watch. He turns his thoughts to his terrible past, to the time when happiness was torn away and shattered right before his eyes. In the world to which he was summoned, even his right to life was taken away. A memory surfaced of a girl named Ayumi, a painful reminder of his loss. In his memory still echoes the sinister laughter of a figure in a cloak standing over the fallen body. Meanwhile, in the calm and majestic world, the goddess with a gentle smile speaks of this pleasant day and attributes it to the efforts of Sumeragi Tsukurusen. She luxuriates in the peace of her kingdom. But this thing is fragile, and she deeply regrets it, for she knows it was gained at a great sacrifice. Looking into the divine mirror, she sees a terrible vision. The image shattered into pieces. Her attendant anxiously warns that the world is on the brink of destruction, and the goddess immediately orders the repair of the wall of space and time. She tells that over the centuries, people have vanished from Japan, taken by a mysterious phenomenon called summoning. Each event widens the cracks in the walls between worlds, and now they are about to crumble. A corrupted god from another world conducts a mass summoning of over 100 people, an act that will break the barrier. She decides to intervene and targets one summoned person with little influence. To ensure his survival, she grants him power related to his hobby, cooking, and makes him extraordinarily lucky. She also grants him a blessing, a power that will remain sealed until his body can withstand its incredible might. The one she chose, Tsukuru, says he has long awaited this opportunity to punish the rotten gods. The goddess vows to help him. Those who sacrifice her world will feel her vengeance. Returning to the present, a young beast girl gently brings Tsukuru a towel and fresh water. She silently watches over his sleep while he rests. He silently sits by the fire while she sleeps in the chair nearby. Suddenly, he is overwhelmed by a memory, a vision of returning to his old home. Suddenly, he remembers a note from his sister, Ayumu. She had planned to throw a banquet in honor of his exam. He remembers entering the kitchen, hearing music and feeling confused. The memory switches to a devastating call. He is informed about a terrible accident. He sees a funeral photographs of relatives who died in a head-on collision. His life shattered into pieces, and he was left completely alone. The phone brought him back to reality, but he still wanders in painful memories. A woman whispered that Sonya had woken up, and he barely nodded in response. A young girl beast entered, addressing him, Master. She is infinitely grateful for being saved and returned to her sister. Using his special gift, he prepares a simple, easily digestible dish for her to help her recover. Overwhelmed with emotions, she thanks him again. He gently offers her a spoon with the steaming dish. Her face lit up, and she exclaimed with delight what a treat this is. Looking at her, he remembers Ayumu, whose cold, broken body he had seen with his own eyes. Suddenly he calls out to Sanya, and she shudders. He asks if she has ever heard of a country called Japan, but this name is completely foreign to her. She whispered that she and her sister had known only service all their lives, and do not remember anything before that. Tsukuru suddenly fell silent and stopped asking questions. Her sister insists that he eat, but he ignores her. He suddenly stands up and goes down the stairs. Kanan follows and curiously asks about his strange behavior since he met Sanya. He admits that he mistook Sanya for someone familiar, but brushed it off, saying it was just a misunderstanding. Suddenly he shifted his attention and said that they urgently need to hurry to the Bull Forest to meet Ratten-sama. Kenan asks him, "Tell her the truth when you are ready." He agrees, but his face is gloomy. In the majestic Boar Forest, the Beastman commander raises his voice and calls his troops to march against the terrible monster. He roared, "Fight to the death, no retreat." The main hero and his companion watch as the knights charge into battle with the enemy. They boldly declare that they will fight for the honor of their house. With the final coordinated assault, the knights defeat the enemy and feel their power ignite. A colossal bird falls to the ground, its huge body instantly silencing the forest. The victors shout that having defeated the level 140 monster, they have nothing left to fear. They decide to hold a loud festive banquet to celebrate their great victory. Returning to the city, they approach the grand gates of the estate. The Beastman Commander Lauten announced that his duty is now fulfilled. He explains that he cannot enter his family once offended the Lord, but the mission is accomplished. The main hero enthusiastically notes how Lauten has grown and become stronger, while the commander modestly brushed off the compliment. But just then the senior of the house appears and insists that letting such a powerful warrior go free is too dangerous. He offers Lauten a new goal to lead the newly formed corps of the city guard. His mission is to tame wild beasts threatening the land and protect the people. He senses great potential in Lauten and says that losing such a promising knight would be a great loss. Deeply moved, Lauten accepts the position and pledges his loyalty. The young page whispered thanks with tears in his eyes and swore to serve even at the cost of his own life. At the estate, the company finally enjoys a well-deserved, hard-earned meal. Suddenly, the wolf girl began to recover before their eyes. It turned out to be a pleasant side effect of the powerful food. The hero reveals his masterstroke. A letter exposing the previous count's bribery has already reached the king. Then he offers the two wolf girls a place beside him, promising them protection and food. The younger girl desperately begs not to be left behind. He accepts them into his team, and she simply glows with happiness. Before departure, they hurriedly review the catalog to select the necessary equipment for the newcomers. While they were finishing the last preparations, the owner of the house approached them. The noble family sees them off and leaves a permanent invitation to return. The daughter gives the main hero a family dagger, a symbol of their bond, and asks him to take care of himself. She hugs the wolf girl, and they share a sincere moment. She tells them, "You will forever be like sisters to me, and this is your home." The main hero and his comrades fell silent, watching the touching farewell. Having said their parting words, the company turned and set off. The main hero looks ahead, his determination unwavering, and they set out on the road. His companion, shocked, asks where they are heading, and upon learning, realizes with horror that they are returning to the great Boer forest. He says that their new allies need to be trained. They are not yet ready for the battles to come. He strictly stops their merriment, reminding them of the seriousness of their path. Suddenly, a shadow flashed overhead. A huge bird was spotted in the sky. Everyone raises their heads and suddenly tenses. The silhouette of the creature looms over them, a sinister sign against the clouds. Her companion gasped and whispered that such a creature should not be so close to civilization. Then they see it is not one bird, but a whole squadron of majestic birds flying in formation. Their flight was direct and resolute. They were flying straight to the city of Algiers. The group lifted their eyes to the sky. There appeared a huge bird, a creature that should only dwell in the depths of the great wolf forest. A giant bird monster rushes straight toward the city of Arglia. One of his companions shouted that she would destroy it and cast a spell of fiery spear. Her magic, infused with wind, explodes in a blazing vortex and instantly engulfs the monster. Conan, the main hero, catches the sorceress during her descent. The twins look at him with pure admiration. Suddenly, one of the girls shouted for him to look back behind. A fierce monster bursts from the shadows, its claws aimed directly at the couple hovering in the air. A bony figure appears in the path of the attack and warns that a horde of monsters is approaching. Kanan realizes that even with his strong allies, the city will suffer if they do not start acting. He decides to intercept the horde here and now and orders the others to stand behind him. The powerful sorceress turned her gaze to the approaching swarm. With a single spell, she unleashes a destructive storm of flame that burns everything to ashes. The twins watched mesmerized, stunned by the pure destructive power of her magic. I wonder if they too could become that strong if they trained hard. The main character announced, "Their training starts right now." He commands Hanny, "Kill the silver elephant level 230. He will cast Darkband to weaken the beast, leaving her a chance to deliver the final blow." Hannah activates several enhancement skills. Her body glows with energy, and she rushes forward. She delivers a devastating blow, but the recoil of her own enhanced power severely injures her. She collapses to the ground, messages about her level-up tear through the air, and her sister screams her name in horror. He explains that the human body is too fragile for her colossal strength, and offers her a dish prepared with his highest culinary skill. He fervently warns the fading Hannah that she will die if she does not eat it immediately. Her sister desperately shoves the food into her mouth and begs her to swallow. A blinding light burst from Hannah's body, and her wounds began to heal. Within seconds, her hand was whole again, and she apologized for causing trouble. The mage noted how kind their master was to Hannah. He explains that Hannah does not know how to heal, unlike the mage, who had to be trained much more strictly. His companion offers the group rice balls that increase endurance to prepare them for the next battle. The main character pointed to Sonya her target Sulfaria level 2020 and seriously warned her not to be reckless. Sanya nods and rushes into battle with the plant-like monster. He observes their perfect combat synchronization and notices, every time his sister suffers, Sanya suffers too. Their connection is abnormal, and he decides to figure out where this strange bond came from. The beast lunged forward and slashed Sanya's arm. A painful memory suddenly flashes in the hero's mind, and he shouts her name. In an instant, he teleported behind her and took the blow meant for her. Sanya turns around stunned and asks if her master is okay. He gently reassures her. The wound is not serious, and he is simply glad she is safe. He tells her to keep fighting with new strength in her heart. After the battle, the comrades finally sit down for a big, truly well-deserved curry meal. The main hero lays out a real feast before his companions, a mountain of dishes, all the side dishes, and even dessert. Kananu is given a comically huge special portion. He notices how she avoids the raw onion, and suddenly feels a hidden presence nearby. Later that night, the Lick spoke telepathically in his thoughts, noticing that since he met Sanya, he has been restless. The ancient creature mockingly laughs at him, hinting that he has fallen in love with that girl and now suffers. The protagonist fiercely rejects the accusation, his hand gripping the blade tighter. His bony companion assured him it was just a joke, telling him not to worry so much. Suddenly, the hero raises his flare and feels a powerful new presence. A sudden surge of energy tore the others from sleep. Outside, two formidable figures appear before them, one of whom calls them a human tribe. The ethereal woman accuses them, saying that they are the ones who damaged the forest. Mysterious elf appears and asks who dared to damage her forest, while nearby a bony figure whispers to his master, "Run." The protagonist instantly feels the immense power radiating from her. His Lick Baze slips into the shadows to avoid direct confrontation. The elf declared the forest a sanctuary and demanded that he atone for his deeds. She rushed forward and shouted angrily that he would pay with his life. He barely manages to fend off the sudden fierce attack. She is clearly surprised that he was able to block her strike, while he at the same time questions this unprovoked attack. Ignoring his pleas, she says that his sins are too heavy and that his defensive power is incredible for a human. He insists that he was just defending himself, and she contemptuously mocks that foolish mortal. The elf releases another wave of energy and quietly says that he could die without pain. She flies and controls wind magic, so he quickly realizes approaching is impossible and activates his skill assessment. The results are stunning. She is Antia, an ancient elf of level 415, the founder of her entire lineage. He finally understood. She is the progenitor of the elves, and her level is more than 100 higher than his. Ignoring his question, she simply says, "Just die," and summons two colossal tornadoes. The main character found himself trapped between fiercely roaring whirlwinds. He fights desperately to withstand the overwhelming force of the storm. His comrades helplessly stand at the edge of the forest and shout his name. They know, as soon as they enter, they will become a burden, so all that remains is to wait and believe in him. An inner voice whispered, "Stop fixating on defense and look closely at your opponent." He was thrown to the ground, and he sobs that in this world he is always forced to bend to the will of others. Charged with pure defiance, he decides not to die until he tramples them all, activating both dark and wood magic. Antio looks down, somewhat impressed that he is still resisting. He breaks through the storm, but it rejects his efforts as a futile relic. His strike hit, but instead of serious damage, he only splattered it with its own blood. In a moment, he creates dozens of clones, and they rush at her from all sides. The copies suddenly simultaneously attack her, like a coordinated assault. She mocks the treacherous illusions and prepares to destroy them all in one blow. Stunned, she hears his whisper, "You would have one if only you could have defeated them all." With one decisive blow, he ended the battle. His skill, wild instinct, still burns. He looms over the fallen elven founder. She notices that he did not deliver the final blow, explaining that her second life skill saves her from death. She says she will die if he strikes again, and wonders why he hesitates when it is the natural law of battle. He notices that she has her own circumstances, and sadly regrets that she did not talk to him from the very beginning. Antio laughed softly in response to his words. She confidently introduced herself as Antia, an ancient elf, and finally understood the power she had challenged. When she asks his name, he replies, "Sakru Sumeragi," and she solemnly submits to him. She gives herself to him completely, saying, "Do as you wish." His squad rushes forward, and Sanya is on alert, ready to fight to protect her master from this new captive. Then Antio asks if he intends to drive her to fury and hunt her like the other monsters. A strange question completely confuses his companions. He admits that he did not listen to her before, and she asks if he can now explain the situation. At that very moment, Basie emerges from the shadows, ready to tell serious news about the Great Wolf Forest.